There's no 100% security anywhere in the world. The more the ease of life, the more the security in it. One of the beauty about cybersecurity is also job security.
It's good to have us here again. And like we discussed the last class, we'll be firing on with digital forensic essentials. But before we go into that, we'll still have one or two chats, and then also we'll look back into, in addition to the chats you've had ahead now, we'll look back into some of the stuff we did in network defense essentials. And then I know definitely some of us might have questions, especially those of us that have literally gone back to the material, right? Before we go into that, I would love to iterate and mention some things so that we can manage our expectations, and then also so that we don't get to burn ourselves out. Now, I know we have different reading methods, we have different study methods, which we can improve over time, right? Our rate of assimilation differs. But imagine you being chased by a lion, right? No matter how your speed is, either you're running at 20 kilometers per hour, or at 40 kilometers per hour, or at 50 kilometers per hour, you will literally realize that there will be that energy, right, that will just come from above, or from within, that would increase that your 20 kilometers per hour to like, let's say, 100 kilometers per hour. Am I correct? How many of us have felt such a thing before? That naturally you are a gentle person, you don't like to do some things, but when you enter Lagos traffic and something happens, you just realize that you literally have that other side in you. The peak is in you, and you can literally, take the bulls by the horn. Um, it's best we are able to. It's best we are able to ginger ourselves from within, right? I know this exam has been putting a lot of people on the toes, and rightfully so, which is fine. Do you get? But you don't need to get burnt out about it. And then if you are getting burnt out about it, or you are getting anxious about it, like I said, you might want to review your reading or studying method, right? There's difference between studying and cramming, right? And I just feel the need to put that out there this morning so that we can, because the journey is still very far. We have a very, very long journey ahead, right? And like we always say, we're not looking at people that will just start today and then tomorrow they will say, oh, I've started selling okpa in my village. Oh, that security thing. It's for some people, Jerry. No, 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 no. There's no quitter that should be here. In fact, if you are in security, you don't have a quitting mindset. You should not have a quitting mindset. You should have a challenging mindset that is constantly out there to ensure that you keep getting more information and you keep growing. Now, are there going to be down times? Nothing to lie about. Yes, there will be times you will feel bored. There will be times you will feel lonely. There will be times it will feel like, oh, more, am I really doing these things? But the most important part of it is for you to have a goal, right? And that's what is taking me to the part I want to mention and talk about, this morning, right? Someone said, all die and I die. All die, no be die, oh. Get some die will be say after you die, you go resurrect again, oh, because the work where you live, you never finish am. You collect security job, and attack is happening, and you say, all die and I die. You die inside the attack. They wake you up, oh, come and finish what you have started. That's just by the way. Do you get? Mindset is everything. Mindset is everything. Security that you're doing, either you're defensive, you're offensive, you're GRC, you're the mixture of the both, whatsoever field in security that you find yourself is essentially a mindset. You must have a security mindset to be able to operate in there. For you to be able to be an ethical hacker, you must have an ethical hacking mindset or a hacking mindset. For you to be a defender, you need to have a defensive mindset. So everything essentially is a mindset. And note, so that you are not like Nigeria as a whole, because the larger portion of Nigerians, our mindset is always set on reactive, you know, reactivity to so many things. We tend to react to things. We don't proactively, handle situations. And proactively handling situation means you deliberately plan it out, right? Either as a security defender or humorously as a security offender, but this time around ethically, right? You have to be proactive, and being proactive means that you are constant with your research. Like someone gave a feedback the other time that after the class, he or she was able to go back and research, and from the research you're able to find a whole lot of things. That is security mindset. Nobody comes fully formed. Everybody comes and you keep picking the knowledge. Even with so many years of experience, you still keep learning every day. But nobody will sit you down in a class to come and teach you, at some level that, oh, do it like this, do it like that. No. In fact, what is expected of you is you go into your research pool, you gather information, and you come out and you're like, oh, I have found a new method to do this. And somebody who is an OG, who has been into it for years, donkey years, will come and sit down and learn under you. That is the mindset. The mindset is such that you'll be greater than your teachers. And that is what everyone here would be. That is why Sardonyx is keen on, the foundation. That is why Sardonyx is keen on, oh, we must get this information out there so that we can have enough people who are knowledgeable, enough of mediocres in the industry, right? And for you not to be a mediocre in the industry is to be able to go through the process, understand the process, own the process, and become that process. Is to be able to go through the process, understand the process, own the process, and eventually become the process. So, um, for everyone on this call, the next 10 years, we want to see you at your biggest spot. We want to see you as CISOs in organizations. We want to see you as founders of organizations, because that's our dream. That's our joy. Our dreams as instructors, as an organization, is to see everybody succeed. That's the joy. And that is why I'll be re-emphasizing and reiterating this. It's part of our culture. You can't come to any of our class and we will not ask you about your 10-year career plans. We don't want somebody that will just start and then by 1 year you say, oh, that itself is not for me. Maybe my brother can do it. No, no. You must sit down and have your 10-year career plan. Your 10-year career plan is yourself. It's like a map that will help you to understand how you will flow from time to time. That will help you to separate the noise from the real information that is out there. So you can have a book that is over 1,000 pages, and by the time you finish reading that book, your summary or your summary page might not be more than 5 pages. Right? That means you've been able to pick out the necessary information for where you're going, right? It's not about cramming. It's not about, trying to ingest everything all at once. If you do that, it's going to overwhelm you, right? And that brings me to another important point, before we go full time into the business of the day. This is just laying foundations for so many things, right? we need to literally carry out. How many of us know what is called a SWOT analysis? I'm putting it on the screen on Google. How many of us know what is a SWOT analysis? Anybody, please unmute and speak.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Ebenezer, Larry, I can see your hand up. Ebenezer, Larry, kindly unmute and speak.
Yes, thank you. So I'm not
Yeah.
talking about, I'm not speaking about the SWOT analysis. I just have
Okay.
two questions based on the
Okay.
explanation you made earlier.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yes, when you're talking about being resilient and all of that, just being focused and um, working hard to achieve your goal and having a 10-year plan and all of that. What if the job market sometimes, you know how frustrating it is? For someone like me now, I try and manage myself to get the CompTIA certification, and ever since I've not been able to get at least an entry role, and even to some point, I feel like, oh, maybe the market is not for the is not for me. Likewise, based on what you've talked about before, I've also thought about it. Maybe this thing is frustrating. I try as much as possible I try to um, um, add some parts of networking to it. I try as much as possible to do so many things so that I can level up, but not that being certified on them. The more I try, the more it looks so hard, and I just felt like, oh, maybe the market is very, maybe it's not for me. And what advice do you have for someone like me? And I know many people too are like that too. Even with all your try, and you know that the certificate is going to expire. It's just for 3 years, and you are still struggling, still find, you're still looking for an entry role even after 2.5 years. There's nothing. So what do you expect? How do you expect us to plan it well? What do you expect from us? How do you know? Thank you.
Okay.
That's my question.
Okay, that's a good one. I would talk about this, but let me just speak to what the question you asked is a very realistic question, and that's where resilience come into play. That's where mindset comes into play. Now, let me give this. The way I'm sounding, it might look as though it's just something simple, you just put it out there and you get it. No, 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 no. Let us be clear. Do you get? It doesn't just arrive on a platter of gold like that. No, you're not just going to stretch your hand and get that job. No, please, those that raise their hands, please still keep it up. I'm still going to pick stuff. Okay, so it's not going to happen just like that. The reason why I mentioned the word resilience is this: you will realize that there are three different categories of persons I have been able to come across. There are the hearers, there are the doers, and there are the hearers and the doers, right? Those are the three major categories. Anyone that is able to combine both, which is hearing and doing, right? You will realize that they get more results faster. Now there's a place of God also. You can't remove the you can't remove Babaloke from it. Do you understand? Because imagine, how do you explain? Somebody has been a hearer, he has been a doer, and for almost like 3 years, he has still not gotten something. And somebody who is a hearer and a doer that just started 6 months ago has gotten job. And somebody has been there 3 years, 4 years, he or she has not gotten, which simply means that he or she needs to review some certain things, either physically or, as the case may be, spiritually. But the most important thing has to do with, the physical aspect. I give this. Mr. Samuel gave us an assignment of recent. He said everyone should document their journey, right? And tag all, the instructors, tag the institute, and all of that. And I realized that only few persons have done that. And the few persons that did that, they are gaining the right visibility. Because in this case now, you now need to work strategically. You need to be smart, right? They are gaining the visibility. And from the visibility, even without introducing you to anybody, some people are already like, oh, for this person to be able to write about this, he or she is doing something. And that's what we want. You can't compare such a person with someone who heard everything and after the class closed the book and went to sleep, right? There are two different categories of people. Now, that is not to say that you have not been putting the right work, right? It simply means that you need to review your strategies, right? The never die, never quit mindset is important at that point, right? And then most of the times we need to get clarity. We need to get clarity. Just like I'm asking questions now, I know Mr. Samuel would do, there will be probably, there might be a class around that because he is a LinkedIn expert. When it comes to this level, me, I don't have expertise there, but at least with the little I've heard over time, it's easy to be able to say, oh, okay, your CV. If I ask everybody on this call now to send me their CV, you'll be surprised how many people don't even understand how to write a CV. You need to master that art. You need to understand how CVs are accepted. You need to understand what is required. Somebody is applying for a cybersecurity analyst role, and inside the CV, I'm seeing I sold Akara under Third Bailout Bridge. I moved vehicle from one location to another, as in things that are not related to the job. Please tell me, is that person going to get the job? He will not. Now, this person is good. This person has been reading. This person is active. But imagine somebody doing that wrongly for like 3 years. It is until he or she gets it right with the help of God and with the right information and right positioning, because there's what we refer to as the first mover advantage, right? You are online. You are always watching TikTok, or watching this thing. You only visit LinkedIn once in a while, or you visit other job sites once in a while, and you say you are not getting job. I've seen somebody who is on LinkedIn for almost about 5 years. He has been applying. The information will come back, rejected. He kept on applying until one day he met somebody online, and the person just told him, do this, use AI to arrange this and arrange that. It wasn't up to 2 weeks. This guy started getting jobs. He said he was laughing at himself. For almost 5 years. In fact, at the point, he abandoned LinkedIn and was going to Indeed and some other, sites, which those ones too can be. And what's the reason? It's a very simple thing. Let me share this. Like I said, before we go into the business of the day, this is what do they call it again? ATS for resumes. You can see this. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can see it.
So applicant tracking systems are software tools used by employees to scan, rank, and filter resume for keywords and formatting. With 99.7% of recruiters, you can see this. 99.7, you know what that figure is? They use it. So the moment the AI just check and discover that when you inside your CV, there's nothing related to the job title that you put there, they will push your CV to one side. The CV will get pushed to one side, and from there, the person will be up. Now, the person might be good physically, the person might be good hands-on, but just that soft skill is what is missing, And like I said, Mr. Samuel will guide us on, how to go about that. there's still a lot, in stock for us. So back to the question I asked, how many of us please kindly tell me about SWOT analysis. Hope I've been able to answer your question, Ebenezer. Yusuf, I can see your hand is up. Please go ahead.
Yes,
Answer to my question. SWOT analysis. What is SWOT analysis? Yusuf Shekina, God's glory.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
SWOT analysis, like the meaning of those keyword is just strength, weakness, opportunity, and so opportunity and oh my god, I just missed it.
Right.
Opportunity and
God, I
somebody
joined
just
for
reminded
this.
you threats.
Opportunity
Exactly.
and threat. Okay, yeah.
Exactly. And
So it's just a way to sorry.
okay,
It's
go ahead.
just a way to do an analysis on yourself.
Okay.
I'm outlining your strengths, the weakness, opportunity, and so strength is there are things that you are capable of doing. While weakness are things you are working on or things you are not really good at. So
Okay.
opportunity are they are like things you can take up to try to do. That's
Okay.
basically what I know about it. I just wanted to mention something.
That's a good one. Please drop your wonderful emoji round of applause for her. Yusuf Shekina. That's a good one. That's a good one. Abdulhamid, please kindly add to that. I can see your hand is up. Yes. Abdulhamid Salisu. Yes. You're muted, but we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's a bit far. It's sounding as though you are talking from a cave or something.
Okay.
Okay, while you sort that out,
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? I'm trying
very
to.
clear now. Yes. You're welcome back to town. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, in terms of let's say in terms of programming, SWOT meaning the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Strengths is what your program can do, like what it's entailed to do. Weaknesses is something that let's say the faults of the program.
Hmm.
Opportunities what your program will give you in the future and what it can bring for you in the future. While threats are those weak. I'm not going to use weaknesses. They are those harmful things that can happen to you or to your program in in the future or in detail. Yeah, that's
Okay,
it.
that's a good one. Please drop a wonderful emoji for him. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. I saw some other hands that were up also. What happened? Everybody don't drop hand. Or you mean to say you have said what you wanted to say? Okay, so let me explain it like this so that we can understand it. And I'm going to be linking it back up to Yusuf Shekina. Okay, you have dropped your hands. I'm going to be linking it back up to the topic of the day and how it relates to everything we are doing, right? I mentioned earlier that security is a mindset, and that mindset should be your lifestyle, right? If you want to excel in this industry, it should be your day-to-day activity, right? Before you can first, know whether you are security conscious, right? You need to first carry out a SWOT analysis on yourself. If you are on a project also, you need to carry out a SWOT analysis. The reason is because SWOT analysis is a project management strategy right? And if you want to succeed in the security field, if you want to succeed across any project, right, it is the basics of everything you need to do, which is still has to do with your 10-year career plan. You know, you need to know, oh, okay, these are the areas that I am strong. These are the areas that are weak. I need to make strong. You know, these are the areas that I have opportunities, and these are the areas where threats can, literally occur, right? Now, to break it down so that we can all understand it, and this process will be useful throughout our careers, either as a defensive person, as a security person, and more importantly, as a forensic essential personnel. You know, SWOT is like Yusuf rightly said, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now, strengths and weaknesses are categorized under internal realities. That is, there are things that are internal to you. I know my strengths, I know my weaknesses. They are your own. But you don't know the opportunities, or you are still in search of the opportunities. And also, equally, when you get the opportunities, it will reveal the threats that are around it, right? And that is where risk management comes in. I overheard somebody say, oh, I'm doing GRC, which is governance, risk, and compliance. Everything you're learning in this class can be applicable to your personal life first. In fact, your personal life should be a model that you can use, to help you launch into this career. And it will help you launch faster than you can think. If you have a careless attitude, it will show in the career. If you have a robust, quick, proactive attitude, it will show in the career, right? Anything that is personal to you will definitely show up, right? Like I said, strengths and weaknesses are internal realities, while opportunities and threats are external to you, right? So now, two things are important. How you link them together to get your results is number one. Number two, how you leverage opportunities around you to be able to, one, solve problems, resolve conflicts, to be able to manage expectations, to be able to do a whole lot, right, will determine how successful you can be, right? Because strengths are part of, your internal process. You don't want to be negative about yourself. You need to be extremely positive about yourself, right? And you need to encourage yourself from time to time. Like I said, there are times that you feel down, right? And that is weaknesses setting in. The moment the weaknesses is telling you, you can't do this, so you are of age, when a 21-year-old person is saying, I'm old, what do you want a 40-year-old to be saying? Or a 50-year-old, as the case may be. And there are some 50 years olds that are telling us that, come, I just the start, right? It's still in the mind. And that is why the mind is one of the greatest home where your defeats or your success can reside in. Do you get? So it's very important. You need to carry out a short analysis of yourself when you get on projects, when you get on assignments at Sardonyx internship and Sardonyx trainings. You need to carry out all of this because they will help you to grow. You should be better than yourself that you were last year. This year should be in personal. You should see that yes, you have improved, in so many areas. So, like I was saying, basically, the 10-year career plan is very important. The 10-year career plan will launch you into a research-focused mind that would help you to plan your years for the next 10 years. And when I say 10-year career plan, AI is there. You can feed it in. How do I write a 10-year career plan? What do I do? What's 10-year career plan all about? Ask it some questions and be intentional. You need to sit down and ask yourself those bitter truths. And one thing I need to mention, right? There are areas where these skill sets are more required than some other areas. There are areas whereby you hear it is noise. 50 million people are here, blah, 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 blah. Yes, it's true. There's 50 million vacancies. But the truth of the matter is this: how many people have that skill set to start the job? Right? How many people have that skill set to start the job? There's something I humorously used to do back in those days, because I just found that love of going to companies' websites. I would look at the job description of a particular job, right? And I would copy it out or print it out, right? And I will start working towards it in my own daily life. So if I research the job description, let me take this as a practical example. Hope you can see my screen. Job description for a security analyst. Right? This is global job description. It can differ from organization to organization, right? So let's look at the one on Indeed, for example. It's still loading up. Okay, so take a look at this. Blah, blah, blah. If you enjoy working with computers, blah, blah, blah. Long story. Yeah. It comes down. Good. Responsibility of a security analyst. Number one, updating existing security systems, creating disaster recovery plans, right? Monitoring and implementing antivirus software, conducting penetration testing. Now, see all these elements, there are plenty. All I need to do is to copy this, right? I know, for example, I don't have any of these skill sets. This is my first time of coming across it, but I have the internet. I can browse, right? And I've browsed. All I need to do, come to our very good friend, ChatGPT. Sorry, is it ChatGPT or ChatGPT? Don't mind me, don't mind my donation. And I paste it, and I literally ask it, how do I carry out these responsibilities, or simulate these responsibilities in my day-to-day life, right? It's as simple as this. Forget all the grammars, right? Look at it though. This is starting with yourself. You are not working with any company at the moment. All you need to do is updating existing systems, blah, blah, blah. It's starting from your laptop, from your phone, from that router in your house. Do you update it regularly? Do you update your browser? Are you aware that you have to do it? And you see, even ChatGPT is telling you, he said, mindset deal. If I don't update it, I am accepting risk. That is the mindset. The next one, create a disaster recovery plan. We've seen this happen several times. Sir, hey, I was in class 2 weeks ago. I was attentive in the class, so the information, I got it clearly. But along the line, I don't know what happened. My phone did not just come on again. The question is, did you have a disaster recovery plan? Did you back up on Google Drive? Deliberately, not like, oh, you have set it on the phone and the phone will just automatically back itself up, right? What if the laptops die today? What if your phone is stolen? Have we put ourselves in that situation? Like, I simulated something last year with some of the students that we worked together. I literally told them, I said, come, how many of us here today and decide to stay away from our phone for 7 days, let me ask us in this call, drop it in the chat box. How many of us here can stay without our phones, without laptop, without anything for 7 days on this call? Drop it on the chat box if you get mind. Anybody? Are we afraid? I can. Mohammed Olawale, Osheni Samuel. Somebody said, what is spelling that? He said, Chukuka. He said, I can. Somebody said, I cannot. You are being realistic, but truly you can. Go ahead. Habib say, Lofa. Gabriel, it's okay. Somebody said, I can't do. Yo, you said you can, but with big reward. So you're motivated. Emmanuel Obidi, I cannot do. Why? Why can't you? I can just for 1 day. I can. Say give me 10 million first. Okay, what you define money? Hey, go at the raw. Hey, go Victor. He said I can't. He said I can. Otter Princess say I can. 3 days max. That's prayer and fasting now. Mercy David. Okay. When I knew I can, it was when my phone lost. I'm looking for money. So, for example, now Ebenezer is saying that he literally discovered that he could when the phone got missing, right? But as at that time, the mental energy needed to focus will resume back to you. What has been distracting you has just left, right? Emmanuel Obidi said, because work and make money with my phone. Oh, you work and make money with your phone. Yeah, everybody works and make money with their phone in their own little way. But the truth of the matter is, how many people can stay away from it 7 days? You know, life was hello anyway. Okay, life was hell. Okay, I can with conditions attached. I can, but just for 1 day. Actually, the fact is, one would survive without it. Yes, Yusuf, I love that. I love that. I love that because we're human beings. We're not slaves, right? We're not slaves to all these gadgets. Phones where they give me money, they can play first. Okay, so we're seeing, a lot of distribution around this, right? Some said I can, some said I can't, But if a circumstance or situation happens, right, that we just wake up tomorrow and they're like, no phones again, no laptops again. What are we going to do? Somebody will say, let's first wait till that time. No, we don't wait till that time. That's why you need a disaster recovery plan. That is why I don't back everything up on the cloud. That is why I still have backup inside my house, even with everything backed up in the cloud. Right? That is why, you have to, do a whole lot of stuffs. You have to simulate it. You have to think ahead. You have to be constantly ahead of the game. Constantly, right? And look at this. Like this second one we just saw now, it's telling us that, yes, this mirrors enterprise disaster recovery planning almost perfectly. If you can do this in your day-to-day life, create a personal disaster recovery plan. What if your laptop dies today? What if your phone dies today? What if you're not even using the phone again? How are you going to survive? You do backup, right? You do them incrementally. There are different types of backups. We'll still talk about all of that. Because for forensics to make sense, right, you need something to compare it with. There should be a state before and there should be a state after, right? If there are no proper backups in place, forensics is useless, right? Which is still part we're getting into, we're talking of today. But I'm blending it into our daily life so that we can understand it, we can remember it beyond the technical jargon we are going to face. You will be able to know how to relate with it. Now, that is not to downplay all the technical jargon, because you must be able to speak that jargon in the field, right? And then you have monitoring and implementing antivirus software, daily life on your phone, you review logs, you check from time to time, you scan, you're not just installing it. You need to observe it. You need to know how it's working. That's the mindset. So some people, I have installed antivirus. Hey, what next? How many times have you checked it? How many times have you used it to scan? How many times have you monitored it? And if you're a pen tester or an ethical hacker, yes, you build a home lab, right? That's the essence of, when you come to CH class, we talk about a whole lot of stuffs. And by the time you finish CH class, you still have options to run into the full internship, which is the 6 months internship, not the 4 weeks training that we are on at the moment, because whether you are doing the 6 months internship or the 4 weeks essentials training, you must be in this class, right? From time to time. Don't be surprised. Here on this call now, I have some big shots. I will not call their name until they reveal themselves. But I know I can see them, I sight them, And we're learning and unlearning and relearning from time to time. What we learned last year has been upgraded. Now we have new knowledge and we'll keep growing like that, right? And then what are the practice areas for EHE that you have done? You have network scanning, you have vulnerability scanning, exploitation basics. The materials are very direct for you to play around with. And like we said, you still have opportunities to ask questions, much later, right? And the moment essentials is finished, don't forget the way you have ethical hacking essentials, network defense essentials, digital forensic essentials, that's the same way you have CH. That is the next level after we have CCT. That is the next level after ethical hacking essentials, followed by CH, followed by CPENT. That's in the penetration testing track, and that's the same way you have in the defensive world also. NDE, CND, CND Certified Network Defender. You have the Cisco programs, all of them scattered there, both enterprise and mid-enterprise, everything put together there. So it depends on how that workflow would go. And then you're seeing this also, gathering and assessing user feedback, daily life simulation, ask friends and family. Why don't you use password managers? You need to ask questions. I remember of recent, the thing just dropped in my mind, like, wait a minute. Everybody's just driving and driving and driving every day. Let me ask this traffic coordinator that is standing here, just for fun. I just wanted to know, right? And I walked up to the last man person or so. I was like, sorry, please, I just want to ask a quick question. Please, how many vehicles pass here averagely on a day, on a daily basis? And the person looked at me. She was like the old boss for them there. And he was like, yeah, come, answer this man's question. And the man was like, roughly 20,000 to 25,000 pass here on a daily basis. The lady looked at him and called the other person. When the other person came, the other person said, Ojubelo, it's more than that. It's roughly like 40,000 vehicles in a day. And I was like, wait a minute, that's a big category of vehicles, right, that follow there every day. I said, in what situation will any of them be a commercial vehicle? Or in what repetition, like, let's say Mr. A asked around 9 a.m. and Mr. A is coming back around 2 p.m., sorry, that same day. Do you get, is there any occurrence of, a vehicle moving twice? And the person was like, averagely, vehicle moving in one direction is not less than 35,000. And I asked the person a simple question. How did you arrive at this figure? He said there was a time that he literally stood there for like 3 weeks and he was counting vehicle. That was the that was the assignment they gave him. So for him to give an average, I knew that yes, this person knew what he was saying. But since the time he counted and the time I was asking question, vehicles have increased. Some vehicles have had accidents and they're no longer there. So And that means that there should be, I want to believe, a system in place that does that data analysis, right? Because let's say, for example, now as an attacker, we want to attack that environment. We will not go when there is traffic in that environment, like, because we need to be able to exfiltrate our data as quick as possible. Or let's say we are forensic investigators, right? We will not go when that place is crowded. And that is why you see when they are carrying out forensics, they will put tape everywhere. At least we have watched a lot of movies. Put yellow tape. No car must pass here. Because why? You don't want to tamper with evidence, as the case may be, gathering and assessing user feedback, and so on and so forth, right? There's so many. Just all of this within a second, from ChatGPT. Now you can tweak this to your daily life. I just posted it on the group so that we can have a look at it. And these are ways by which we grow, personally, so that we can be able to prepare our minds for what is ahead of us. I will drop the prompt also that I use. It's already past 11, so I would start the class fully now. So I'll drop the prompt also so that we can use this. So you can use it for other things. You can use it to learn some other new stuff. Here is the prompt. Okay, so I've dropped the prompt also, and we can get back to where we were at. Please, are you still seeing my screen? ChatGPT, go and rest. Indeed, go and rest. Okay. Good morning once again, everyone. So officially, I'm kickstarting the DFE part of the training, which is the last leg we have today and tomorrow to be able to handle this. Definitely, this is not going to take a lot of time because anytime you hear forensics, let your mind just go the legal way. Let your mind go the detective way. Let your mind go the investigation way, right? Basically, that's what the Digital Forensic Essentials is all about, right? So we have, we're going to be talking about computer forensic fundamentals. We're going to be talking about computer forensic investigation process. We're going to be talking about understanding hard disk and file systems, as the case would be, and all its elements. Well, we're going to be talking about data acquisition and duplication. We're going to be talking about defeating anti-forensic techniques. We're going to be talking about Windows forensics. We're going to be talking about Linux and Mac forensics. We're going to be talking about network forensics. We're going to be talking about also investigating web attacks, followed by dark web forensics, followed by investigating email crimes, followed by malware forensics, and that brings us to the end, which is 12 modules. The 12 modules are short because if you look at the material itself, it's 790 pages, right? But majority of it are pictures, right? They are designed in such a way that when you are reading, it should be able to attract you. It should help you calm down so that you can read and study properly. So it's not, when you are seeing 790 pages, you say, sir, I've been reading 790 pages. I'm like, no, the book is not more than 100 pages. And they're like, no, sir, it's 790. And I'm like, images are more than half. Graphical images, and those images contain a lot, definitely, because they're descriptive in nature, right? You can't understand forensics, right, if you don't understand how things work. This brings us back to our previous classes that was taken by Samson, that was taken by Mr. Timmy, over the time, you need to understand how things work, like they have mentioned prior to this time, right? Understanding how things work will help you to know how to hack those things. Understanding how things work would help you to know how to defend them. Equally, understanding how they work would help you to carry out forensics on them, easily. You know where to look out for artifacts. You know where to look out for information. You know where to touch and where not to touch, right? I remember someone reaching out of recent and was like, sir, I want to carry out a forensic on the MacBook. And I'm like, okay. He said, but I don't want to touch the MacBook. And I'm like, what forensic toolkits do you have? What forensic toolkits are you using? Those were the first questions I was asking. Oh, I don't have any official forensic toolkit. I just want to do them. It's like, yeah, that's not how you're going to carry it out. You need a forensic toolkit, right? And if you don't have a forensic toolkit, there are ways around it, right? Because, for example, from the last time you powered on the system and powered it off, there are some informations that were stored. You get either on the hard disk, on the RAM, especially when you did not shut down. If you did not shut down, then you know that yes, the RAM is operating with the RAM is in random access memory, and it is highly volatile, right? It's short term. It doesn't hold data for long, right? And you need to know that the moment the person shuts down, you will not be able to extract some certain information because they will get wiped out. But imagine that, the system was not shut down, and you are able to analyze the random access memory information real time. That one, you need a toolkit to be able to carry that out. But we'll still get to that point where we'll talk in details about that. So for us to be able to understand computer forensics fundamental, we're looking at, so many areas. Number one aspect is, what is computer forensics? Computer forensics is referred to as a set of methodological process or procedures and techniques, just like you have the TTPs, it's still the same English here, and techniques that help identify, gather, preserve, extract, interpret, document, and present evidence from where? Computing equipment. When you mention computing equipment, you're looking at network devices, you're looking at laptops, you're looking at desktops, you're looking at printers, anything that is using zeros and one, anything that is using binary, anything that is using power pack, electricity that you can plug, anything that, just think about anything that you plug to light and it comes on, either AC or DC, right? That is what you can carry out forensics on. No matter how small it may look, you can carry out forensics on it. All right, that's what we refer to as computer forensics, such that any discovered evidence is acceptable during a legal and or administrative proceedings, which is very critical, right? You want to be able to, sorry, I'm smiling. I just read in the news this morning that someone took someone to court, and then he, he went and brought evidences from social media. And trust me, the courts will admit those as evidences. That is why you will hear the internet does not forget. That is why we must be careful what we put out there. If you are on TikTok and you are in this class and you are there shaking and you are there doing right, you need to desist. You need to desist from it, and ensure that any information you put out is something you can be proud of later in life. Anything you put out on the internet, anything you put out in public spaces is something you can be proud of in life, right? It doesn't mean you should now live a fake life, but ensure that you put good things out there, that your kids can see, and they'll be proud of you. So what are the objectives of forensics? Quickly, number one, identify. Two, gather. Identify, gather. Two, three, preserve. Four, extract. Five, interpret. Six, document. Seven, present evidence. So those are the 7 methodological procedures. Now, they could be represented in different synonyms, right? So in case you see them in exams, or either the exams you're writing tomorrow or subsequent exam, you would know what they stand for, and all of that. Okay. 2, gather evidences of cybercrime in a forensically sound manner. So there is a way to forensically gather information. It's not just by yeah. No, you have a methodological process. You have a procedure that you use to gather it, so that there is no stone left unturned. Everything is critically outlined. And nobody comes with this skill set. You learn it, right? And it starts from the little details you pay attention to in your homes. You're going out in the morning, you check the gas, you check the lights, ensure that everything is off. All those little details, they go a long way, right? In saving critical moments, right? In having a process around so many things. At first, it will look very inconvenient, but over time you realize that it's for your own good, right? There are some things, like somebody said, it can happen to anybody. I look at the person one day, I say, no, it cannot happen to everybody. Yes, not because you are perfect, no, but because you are constantly conscious of what you do. Do you understand? It cannot happen to everybody now. Somebody that does not go out in the night to go and drink and party, right? And you tell me that the person, something can happen to the person in the midnight on the road. It's not possible now. It cannot happen to everybody. It cannot happen to everybody. If it happens by adventure, maybe they are rushing to the hospital or whatever. That's a different thing entirely. Which such scenarios can occur, but the probability, like we mentioned in the last class, the probability of occurrence of such event is very, 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 very low. Very, very, very low. You can't compare with somebody who is always going out every night. That person has a higher probability of facing some certain challenges that the person who doesn't go out every night will never face. In fact, when the person who never goes out every night wants to know more about going out in the night, he has to consult the person that goes out every night because that person get grace for him. You get. So must be able to estimate the potential impact of malicious activity on the victim and assess the intent of the perpetrator, right? So now sometimes it looks easy, but it's not in the real sense. There's a general motive, like we saw in ethical hacking essential, behind every attack, right? Because an attack must have occurred for you to even think about forensics, right? If an attack has occurred and you're thinking about forensics, one of the elements you need to go through and understand very well is what defense system were even in place in the first place. There must be a defense system in place that the attacker was able to break through it, or bypass it, or, an insider kind of a thing to be able to gain access, unauthorized access, not just only gaining unauthorized access to the point whereby, they are taking over things or they are stealing things, right? So when you are assessing that, you must be able to look deep. It's more or less like a detective job. You must be able to look deep and be able to say, okay, this is what the attacker was looking for. By virtue of all the artifacts you have been able to bring together. Right now, this is for independent analysis. This section is different from, what is happening in the courts. It's different from when the judge will say, okay, can we have the evidences with looking through the glasses? Like, can we present us with the evidence? And the person you are presenting evidence to also, the person is not a tech person. In fact, it doesn't even know what a tech is, right? It just knows laws, right? And it can stay by laws. So for a forensic investigator, your documentation must be sound enough that if a layman, in quote now, the judge, who is lay as far as tech is concerned, picks that document, he should be able to understand what you have written. And that thing should stand in as evidence, against the perpetrator. Minimize the tangible and intangible losses of the organization, protect the organizations from similar incidents in the future. Those are part of the aims of your forensic investigation. You don't, once bitten, twice shy, you don't want it to happen again, support the prosecution of the perpetrator of that particular incident. These are the major goals, around all of that, And like I said, for example, you are able to recover files, both hidden and temporary data, and they can be used as evidence, right? As a forensic person, also, you should be able to carry out incident response, right? As the case would be. As we go on, we'll see so many things. Why do we need forensics? Number one, to ensure the overall integrity and continued existence of IT systems and network infrastructures within the organization. Two, to extract, process, and interpret factual evidence such that it proves the attacker's action in court, like I mentioned some seconds ago. To efficiently track down perpetrators from different parts of the world. How was Osh Poppy? How was he picked up, right? He was tracked. Part of the process, forensics was involved, They've been trailing him for a while until, that is there. And there are a whole lot of information out there in the internet you can pick up of different incidences of forensics and all of that can help to buttress all of this. To protect the organization's financial resources and valuable time. So attackers are constantly looking out for what to steal. When do you use forensics? Number one, to prepare for incidents, to identify the actions, to estimate and minimize damage to resources, and set a security parameter. That's when you carry that out. I'll give a live example of a situation that I've been privileged to work on. It took us 3 weeks on site, 3 weeks of not going home, night and day. It was a wonderful experience amongst many others. The total servers that were ransomware were not less than 20. There were 12 active servers that were ransomware. 8 were shut down already, as at the time of the incidents. And the remaining 12 were critical servers that they couldn't just go, they couldn't just go off, right? And to make it very annoying, the person that was meant to be taking backup was eating guguru at the bar. He had no backup for close to a year, and that made it a very, very, difficult task. And if you, how many of us have heard of ransomware or know about how ransomware works? Anybody? Can you raise your hand or mute and speak? Ransomware. I want to be sure we're on the same page. How does the ransomware work? Okay, Guido Wilson, go ahead.
All right, so ransomware works in a way that when the attacker sends the malware to the target computer, it locks the system down, so it seizes read-write access from the victim. So the victim can't be able to do anything on their system unless they pay a certain amount of money or they send them something specific to the demand of the attacker.
Okay, are you saying ransomware is a bandit or a terrorist? Is that what you're saying?
It depends on what the attacker wants from the user.
Somebody is laughing. Go ahead, I'm with you.
Okay, so what happens is the attacker sends the malware via maybe like an image or a document or anything. So when the user clicks on it, like downloads it, a ransomware runs in the background and then locks the system in a way that the user won't be able to access it till they pay a certain amount of money or they send whatever the attacker demands from them.
Okay, that's okay. I saw somebody else's hand up. Please unmute and speak. That's a Daisy.
I raised my hand for.
Good afternoon. Can you
Good
hear me?
afternoon. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, ransomware is a case whereby an attacker uses malware to encrypt or lock the files of a company or something like that. Then they demand ransom
Okay.
from the company or to the people they attacked.
Okay. That's very okay. That's very clear. You know, but how do they operate basically? Like Wilson was trying to explain, they lock your data or something, and then they ask you to pay, right? I'm asking of the process it takes for that lock to happen. What's that process called? There's a name for that process.
Encryption.
Thank you. So they
Ransomware.
utilize encryption, right? And they
Yes.
utilize strong algorithmic encryption techniques, right?
Yes.
Which are they're not the common ones out there, that everybody use. In fact, they could be a mixture of the common ones, but most of the times they are hard coded by the people perpetrating that stuff. So for you to be able to decrypt it, right, there are two types of keys. There's the online key and there's the offline key, right? The online key means that the person that sent the ransomware that encrypted your data, right, must literally be online and is server connected to you for that decryption to happen, right? The one that is offline means that the decryption key, after the encryption has happened, is stored on that machine, on the machines that was attacked. So let's say, for example, I as the ransomware creator attacked a Daisy, right? My decryption key, if it is online, has to be with me, right? So I have to be online for a Daisy to be able to see her document, and she must have paid my ransom that I put on, or the bounty I put on, no, the ransom I put for her, right? But if it is offline, what that means is this: after I encrypted, right, I stored the decryption key somewhere on Adaize's system. So for Adaeze to decrypt it, Adaeze must be able to know where that key is. So if I hide it in system 32 or hide it somewhere else, she will be looking, she will not be able to decrypt her data. Because if a ransomware attack occurs, the first thing everybody wants to do is to disconnect from the internet, right? Especially if the system was connected to the internet, right? That's the first thing that comes to mind. Turn everything out. But there are some systems, especially enterprise systems, that you cannot turn out just like that. If you turn them out, you must have a backup in place. And that's the place of redundancy. You must have a backup in place that can replace it quickly. Imagine a big organization in Nigeria, right? And ransomware happened to them. And it's almost ravaging everywhere. And when it happens like wildfire. It goes very fast, like petrol that they pour petrol, they pour more petrol inside fire, right? So literally, we have to be able to contain it. But if they are unable to contain it, the first thing they will need to do is to ensure that it doesn't spread to any other person, which is still also part of the containment process, right? So that's just that about that. So offline key, online key, is what differentiates how ransomwares are decrypted. Back to the example I was given. So imagine 12 servers, active servers that cannot go offline, are still available online, and 8 had already been shut down. That means the ransomware was still actively active. And the more the other 12 servers was available, there was what we call lateral movement. It was moving from one server to another, from one server to another, from one server to another. For us to now come in at the 9 minutes, and God helped us, we were able to lock it down. After we locked it down, we're requesting for backup. Which backup do you have? Let's see if we can recover to it so that people out there can continue doing their businesses, as the case would be. That's where we discovered that backup has not been taken for close to a year. Now this is going back to disaster recovery, which is similar to your own personal phone. How many of us have backed up in one year? We only think of backup when the phone has finally died, or when the real owners slap you and collect the phone. That's when many people will remember that there's anything called backup, but it shouldn't be the case, right? Which is still also part of the planning process, right? You have to consider forensics, you have to consider incident response in your planning, which is very important, right? To cut the very long story short, God helped us. We're on that site for 3 weeks, back to back, carrying out investigations without having to tamper with any of the artifacts. In fact, at the point, that's where internal politics started coming in. Somebody now wanted to blame us, that we are the ones that caused the thing from happening. The person did not know that we are professionals in this business. We have been doing it before they born his father. You understand? And every of our activities was well documented. So nobody could robe us into anything, And it was very, very, very interesting. What that feeling looks like when you could literally do it. So that's it. The part of the part that gave us tough time was the decryption, because for some of the servers, the decryption were online. So their decryption key was not on the local server. That was the head cracking part of it, because we had to literally look into cryptographic principles, try to write Python scripts, try to do a whole lot of stuff. The first thing was to try and know the encryption pattern that was in place and determine the type. But it's not a common encryption pattern that the person used. I didn't mean it was a common one. You can easily get the decryption key sharply, and then run it. You have so many of those what do they call it, ransomware. There's so many of them that has existed over the years. Many of them do different things. You have the Lockbit, you have the R Evil, you have the RYUK, you have the Conit, you have the Black Cat. There's so many, and their decryption key differs from one to another. There are some of them that are in a particular group, right? The moment you see this, this decryption key can work. It's just a little augmentation left, right, and center that would help you to do that. So that brings us to what we're still talking about terminologies in forensics. You types of cybercrime. Cybercrime is defined as an illegal act. We already know that, involving a computing device, network, its systems, or its application. Cybercrime can be categorized into two types based on the line of attack: insider or outsider, external, right? Internal or external. If it is internal, attack performed on a corporate network or on a single computer by an entrusted person. It is any money that is sharing any person with no person, now they do person, that kind of thing. So such insiders can be performed, can be a former or current employees, business partners, or contractors. External attack. This type of attack occurs when an attacker from outside the organization, and this is where your ethical hacking essential comes into play. You want to act like an external attacker. How can you gain access from outside? What are you seeing from outside? Because what you see will give us an eye into what attackers are seeing. These attacks exploit security loopholes, or they use social engineering, like we have been able to establish over the years. Social engineering techniques to infiltrate the network. And this is very funny. Did I share this with us in the last class? Or maybe it's during my week class. Right? Oh, did I share this with us? Please, are we still here? I can see someone's hand is up. Oh, Daisy, your hand is still up.
Yes, we are here.
Okay. So I just dropped the link for us. Did you watch this last class? Hello? Hello?
So we are
Yeah,
here.
you're
We are here.
audible,
No,
sir.
we can hear
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Okay,
hear you, sir.
What link is that, sir?
I just dropped the link in the chat box. Please, everybody watch it. We go for a 5-minute break. When we reconvene, we'll talk about it. Thank you, Jachukuma, for that clarification. It's a good one, and it shows that you're paying attention in class. Okay. So, how many of us have watched that video? Good. Abdulhamid, go ahead. What's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on it? Fashola, what's your thoughts?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, yeah, it's funny the way they just all of them just give their passwords willingly without a second thought.
Hmm.
Like they were just asking them simple questions. It sounded simple. It sounded like something that you can give out, but they were just engineering, doing social engineering, getting to know them. If they want, they can get the password later on, but in the end, they were just giving the password straightforward.
Straightforward. Okay, that's a good one. Fashola, what's your thought?
Can you hear me, sir?
Loud and clear.
Okay. What I just this password is very simple, number one, and it's very easy for someone to just do reconnaissance, go to either by their name and go to their maybe either through Google Docking and try to look for their pet name and things like that, and it can be easily used against them. So that's what I can.
Okay, that's a good one. Okay, is in the Victoria. Go ahead, Isn't Unmute yourself and speak.
Okay, sir. Yes. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
So from the video, it just showed how predictable our passwords can be, like how you said when you were teaching us earlier on in the session, like most passwords can be predictable, and how they were not aware that they're also being giving out very sensitive information. And I think sometimes we also do it ourselves. Why not knowing that we're giving out sensitive information, we just say it freely.
Okay, that's okay. Adaisy, your thoughts?
Okay, they were asked their password, but the password they are giving out is not strong enough to me, because a strong password should have at least 8 characters, and it should be combination of special characters, uppercase, and a number. So what I heard there, I didn't think that most of them gave out a password that can be easily guessed.
Okay. So if you were at that interview, you will still give out your password too, right? Adaisy, if you were asked that question now, what would be your answer? Let me ask you that question. Same question. What's your password?
Okay, if I'm the one there, I don't think I will give out my password.
Why
I'll
not?
just,
We're in class now. You
because
should be
it's
able to
personal
share.
to me.
You should be able to share now.
No,
Why
no,
forensic
I
class?
don't share my password with somebody.
There's love
I'll
in
just
sharing.
smile and leave.
There's love in
No,
sharing.
because I'm
Okay.
conscious, I'm security conscious.
Yeah, security conscious. That's great.
Yeah.
Prince. I will take from Prince. Okay. Prince, go ahead. We can't hear you, Prince. Okay, Ja Chukuma. Go ahead and speak. I'm not hearing from
Good morning,
Prince.
sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Isaiah.
Good morning,
Yeah.
sir.
I think it's always like this. I think it's better said than done. First off, that's like a street exercise. I mean, where you're giving the mic. First of all, there's an excitement there. I know we need to be like alert and all, but I can actually see how they made a mistake. They trusted the interviewer. Will I call the person an interviewer? They trusted that person, and they actually didn't see it like, oh, I'm giving out my password, because first off, they were being asked, so what's your password? And they were very secretive about it. But in the long run, they now gave it out. So first of all, it's better said than done, because when you get to that position, I'm not saying everybody now is not going to be password or credential smart. I just feel like if you are in that position at that point, you probably would not think to that angle. You will not think to that angle, and that's where the mistake happens. So yeah, we need to do better, just like the video you said we should watch. That's what they started with. We need to do better with our passwords.
Okay, that's great. Iyola Boluwatife, go ahead and unmute and speak. And see your hand is up.
Okay, yes, good morning, sir.
Good
I would
morning.
like to just
Chukuma, you can drop your hand.
say a few about the video that was placed in the chat. So one thing I noticed was that based on what the last person just said, I understand that there can be like a form of excitement, but in social engineering, there is something that they prey on urgency. And if someone just walk up to you and just say that, okay, what is your password? If it is someone that is well grounded in social engineering, you know that, okay, there's a form of urgency. And in cybersecurity, you should not trust. You have to verify first, then trust. There is even something in cybersecurity called zero trust. So when someone walk up to you and asks you for your password, if you want to do it for the plot, you can give out a very different answer, like Jemima 123, because of course, no one would actually want to like trace it back to you if it's just for the plot. But if you want to be security conscious and you don't want to like give out anything, you say, okay, I'm sorry, I can't give out that kind of information, and you just move on. And also, what I noticed too was the passwords that they were giving out. were very weak, because you told us something that they can also get information from our Facebook, because that is where people like dump most of their personal information on, like their address, their dog name, their cat name, the schools that they went to. So that place is like an archive for information. So we'll just have to do better when being asked for our information.
Okay, that's a good one. Sukade Fashola, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I think maybe what I also noticed, maybe I'm taking out
Sorry,
my own
Iola.
thinking out.
Sorry, Fashola, wait a minute. Iola and Jachukuma, please drop your hands. Okay, yes, Iola has dropped his hands. Yeah, go ahead, Fashola.
Yes, I am. I'm also thinking out of this class. And there's one class you taught us that there's no way that human can be free from social engineering, which I feel like is the best way to manipulate people to collect information. So it's not really only collecting their password also, which feel like is so simple. It can be used as dictionary attack to get their password so easy. It's also a way that the social engineering of a thing is common, and there's no way you can avoid this. It's just is what I can just say is they are just asking their password. This one is just direct. What of if they manipulate their way and asking that, okay, is your favorite food your password, something like that? There's a way they can also leak it out. So the best way is just when such interview is being asked, just ignore, or it's better for you to diversify to another thing. That's just my opinion.
Okay, so that's a defensive thinking. That makes sense. Okay, Wilson. Wilson, go ahead.
That guy is using sniper now. That is why.
Okay, Wilson, please go ahead. Wilson, your hand is up.
All right. So, all right. Okay. So, from what I noticed in the video, first things first, as the person that said something before me, he said something. When it comes to social engineering, they usually prey on, especially a sense of urgency, right? But we have to be more security conscious in terms of that. And another thing I noticed is they all made a crucial mistake in most of their passwords, which is making use of their personal data. Almost all of them use something very personal to them, which includes either their date of birth or the year they graduated, or maybe their grandma's name or the name of their pets, things like that, which is very, very wrong when it comes to cybersecurity. For instance, now when it comes to interviews like that, there's usually a high chance they would start with what's your name, asking questions like that, like what's your name before they start asking the main things about them. I think maybe they probably clipped that out, but they would most likely ask what's their name before telling them, okay, we are doing this on the street, we are trying to find out this. Now, when the hacker now knows the person's name, they can run like a search on the person and then see their social media handles and then can use a brute force attack with those kind of information they've already gotten, which is very, very unsafe. So I think the bottom part of everything is that they were completely um, they are completely down when they reduced their guard when it came to that. Maybe they thought it was just a street thing, and maybe there's no possibility that their information um could be accessed with just that. I think the only person that learned from that mistake was maybe the person at the end.
Okay, that's a good and elaborate one. I purposely push this video again. Most times I use this video during ethical hacking training class, but whatsoever knowledge we learn from ethical hacking essentials, from network defense, is still very, very potent in forensic. And here is why. Because forensically, we have to look at that video, critically. I'm happy that, yes, that many of us were able to pick out some of those points. And some of the points or some of the questions an investigator would ask should, in case, this kind of thing happen and it led to an attack, which has happened several times. Many people are, there's a Yoruba adage that says that, in ton duni long poloro any, like, what is worrying you at the moment is what you are likely to put at the peak of your conversation, right? Especially when the emotions has been broken down, So psychologists do play those things when they want to counsel anyone, right? Many marketers do that. If you go to market regularly, say, "Oh, God, this thing now 5 naira," and you say, "Oh, God, no, 2 naira." You are playing psychological game, to be able to arrive at the moderate price that that this person is a big man. You can get the money from his hand, and all those psychological texts happen from time to time. But looking at this social engineering attack or other social engineering attacks, by the way, what type of social engineering attack was this particular one? Anybody? What type of social engineering attack? If it was a real attack, even though we know it was an experiment, but what type of a social engineering attack will you categorize it to be from our previous learnings? Okay, Fashola, go ahead. Fashola, mute and speak. Oh.
Yeah, social media gatherings, something like that.
Social media what?
Gathering. I think.
You just find name for him. That's not it. Go ahead. Daniel Amzat, please go ahead.
Yeah,
You
to
tried,
me,
Fashola.
yeah,
Daniel Amzat, go ahead.
to me,
Good
it's a
afternoon.
passive attack.
Passive attack. Mm, 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 mm. Okay, it's a bit close, but it's not passive. It's a bit
Why?
close.
Why is it not passive? You I might ask because it's really looking like a footprinting.
It's looking like a footprinting. The person was actively asking questions. He was not passive. He was directly asking questions.
Sorry, please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay.
So we can categorize
I'm
it
sorry,
as
sir.
active. Yes.
Can I
Iyola
ask?
Bolutife, go ahead.
Okay.
Okay,
Iyola,
I would just like to, yes, I would just like to give it a try. So I think it's vision, like with the V.
Okay.
That is voice phishing.
Voice phishing. But the person was not over. It was not over the phone now. It was physical with the person. So if somebody calls you, say, yes, please, we are calling you from XYZ Bank. Please, we sent you an OTP. Please send blah blah blah. That's phishing, right? So this cannot be categorized as that. But that's a good try. I'm looking at Wilson. Wilson, yes. Wilson, go ahead. Unmute and speak.
Okay, so I wanted to say baiting, like putting out a bait to draw them, but I
Baiting.
think I think I'll lean more at pre-texting because the person created like a fake scenario to draw them in.
Pretexting. That's a bit close also. So we've agreed that yes, it's an active attack, correct? Pretexting is a bit close, but I won't call it that equally. That's a good try. Nde Sede. Sorry, did I pronounce that name very well? Sede, Sede. Please unmute and speak. I saw your hand up, just not quite long.
Yeah, I was actually going to put it under baiting because of how it
Baiting, okay.
was. Yeah, so but the previous guy said the same things.
Okay, so I will still categorize it as baiting, even though it's similar to it. There were elements of baiting in that conversation. Yes, you kept on poking them until something. Yes. Warito Shodi, please go ahead and unmute and speak.
Credential harvesting.
Credential harvesting. Very close. Very, very close. But it's still part of the elements, it's still part of the elements. So it's trading between pretexting, baiting, and credential harvesting. Yeah. Okay. Any other person? That's a good one. Any other person? I'm seeing okay. Jachukuma. Sorry, I have to scroll through all the pages. Jachukuma.
Okay. Yeah, go just
Yes.
add to what the last person said. Well, since the person didn't get it, that means probably I might not get it. So I had because they were
No, see, so it's not like you didn't. It's not like you didn't get it.
okay.
What
Okay.
was said is still a part of the process, but I just wanted us to categorize it under a particular body, right, or a particular item exactly. So pretexting, yes. Baiting, credential harvesting. Was credential harvested? Yes. Was baiting involved? Yes. You gave baiting questions and all of that to be able to extract those information. But we need to sum it up. Yes, Ifeoluwa Adebanjo, go ahead and speak. I can see your hand is up. I'm going to call everybody. Just keep your hands up. Yeah.
So I'm looking at impersonation. Is it where you pretend to be someone you trust for you to just get the password?
No, that's not impersonation then. That's not impersonation. In this case, this scenario. Yeah. Okay. Prince. Prince, go ahead, unmute and speak. I can't hear you.
All right, so sorry, the first time you called my name, I was speaking, but my mic was not working. I had to restart my laptop.
Okay,
so
go ahead.
During the restarts, I didn't hear your second question. I believe people are saying some things now, tailgating and the rest. I don't know the question you just asked. But based on the video that we watched, I would say that first of all, they are not security minded. Because when you ask somebody their password, there are so many things that can go wrong from the next word that they say. And then again, their passwords were, oh God, this even children. I believe I'm also surprised because your cat's name is only our elderly ones that still uses their age or their, but seeing the young ones doing this, it means that we still have a lot of work to do personally and everything. So that was my take on that.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Olusonya Damilare, please unmute and speak. I just checked the last patch now. Yeah, go ahead. Unmute and speak. Olusonya Damilare, please unmute your mic and speak. I can't hear you. You're speaking.
Okay, so sorry, I was trying to, I will call it manipulation attack.
Sorry, I'm laughing. Is it manipulation from the village? No.
Or human-based social engineering. So.
Well, the words, I understand the reason why you said manipulation, like because he chatted them into releasing their passwords. With English, yes, you are correct, but no, security wise. Security wise, though. Isn't it Victoria? We've been able to establish that is an active attack. Isn't it Victoria? Please go ahead. Isn't it Victoria? Are you there? Unmute and speak. If you're speaking, we can't hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yes, I'm saying, is it a reverse social engineering attack?
Reverse social engineering. If
Yes.
you say reverse social engineering, then that means it's not a social engineering attack.
Okay.
You get.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good try. Seeing Mercy Davids, yes.
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, ma.
From what I can deduce from the video, I can see that the interviewer are like offering services like feature in our interview, and then they extract information from them. So I'm thinking quid pro, I don't know the full this, but quid pro, like offering services to get information from the targets, from the targets.
Targets. That's a good try. But then what name can you, what broad category can you put it?
Sir?
What broad category can you put it under?
What broad?
Yes, based on our last training.
Broad category is under social engineering, sir.
So what are the types of social engineering attacks aside active and passive?
We have phishing. We have tailgating. We have spear phishing, where bullying. We have baiting. We have shoulder something, right? Then we have dump something where the person will go and be looking for where they get things that are no longer needed.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the ones that I can remember.
I can remember. Okay, so
Yes.
which one can we categorize this particular one under? Okay.
You already said it's an active attack, sir.
Yes, it's an active attack. We agree on that. But which type of active attack? And no one has mentioned this yet. It's a non-technical attack. Hope you still remember the technical attacks, the non-technical attack. So it's under the category of a non-technical attack. Those that said baiting, those that said pretexting, they're in line. It's close. It's correct to what category we can fix it, because a lot of methods was actually used in that video, right?
Sir, can we call it piggy something you had mentioned, since they're taking the questions slowly, like they're taking the answers?
Can we call it what?
I think it's piggy banking or something. I can't remember what you called it that day, but
piggy banking.
Since the quest, I can't remember. I think there's one you called something like that.
No.
Okay.
So from what is shown, okay, let me allow Napi said there to talk. Go ahead. Okay. Sorry if I murdered your name.
It's fine. I would categorize it under phishing. Because under phishing, because
why did you say phishing?
Yeah, the personality during the interview. Now, first of all, it came with probably a personality that they trusted. So basically, they trusted the media, someone with a microphone, with a cameraman standing by. Man, it just gave a form of trust first of all, and the person started asking those questions. I would categorize it under phishing, looking at that scenario, because if I'm someone carrying out a phishing attack, not being present there, you're basically doing the same thing, asking certain questions via maybe text message or via email, trying to gain that trust. You first of all come as a personality that they trust, that they can trust. You act as that person, then ask certain questions to gain the information you need.
I
Basically.
understand the angle you're coming from, but if it is phishing, then it's something else totally, because you're looking at, there must be an involvement of a link, there must be an involvement of maybe an email or a WhatsApp. There's a link somewhere. Do you get? That one falls directly on that technical, right?
Okay.
Yeah, but that's a good try. That's a
All right.
good try. Adeze, go ahead.
Okay, my own opinion, I will categorize it as shoulder surfing.
Shoulder surfing. Ah, was he? Were they looking over their shoulders?
No,
Why did he say shoulder surfing?
because the person is trying to ask them questions to get information. So
Over their
that's
shoulders. Was he over their shoulders?
as if it's a physical shoulder, but that's the technical name I'm
So
categorizing
technical
it.
name. Oh no. That would not work well, because shoulder surfing means that it's like you sitting down and then somebody is looking over you, right? Monitoring what you're typing your passwords and all of that. That's an example closer to shoulder surfing, right? Ebenezer Lanre, I'll just take this last three so that we can proceed. Ebenezer Lanre.
Hello, sir.
Right. Yes.
I can categorize it as vision.
Vision, voice.
Yes.
That's close, but not exactly. Yes, voice being used, or voice being heard doesn't mean it is vision. That voice must be over a communication channel, which has to do with maybe phone, telephone, walkie-talkie, as the case may be, anyone. That's when you can say it's a vision, Okay, Daniel Amzad.
No question anymore. Someone have already asked my question already.
Oh, okay. About during Ayodeji, what do you think it is? About doing Ayodeji, your hand is up. Daniel, you can drop your hands. Jachuku, my hand is up.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon. Go ahead. Quickly.
Can you hear me now, sir?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yes, sir. So I was thinking it's vision because it's over voice communication. But as you said it's not through protocol, through internet. So I was thinking it's vision.
Okay. So that's fine. Jachukuma.
Yes, sir. Just because you said it, you want it to be categorized under a more broader, and you gave us hints that just like the last class, I think it's a closing attack. And the reason I said it's a closing attack is
This man has read.
In close
This man has read. Go
No,
ahead.
I've actually, I read. You gave the hints. You gave the hints because when you're talking about passive, I was there in the last class.
I'm not saying that's the answer.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
Okay. That's fine. But I'm just saying, you were telling the last lady that she was trying to get around it, and you were saying aside the passive and attack, what else? I know about the closing attack, and I remember you saying closing attack was the attacker has to be in close proximity to the target or something like that, and that sums up the video. But I could be wrong, so I'm just trying.
Okay, so that's a good one. I purposely allowed this deliberation so that it can help us to understand the depths. Are we together, please? Can you mute? Someone's mic is still on. You can drop your hands also. Someone's mic. Okay, I think it's clearer now. So basically, right, everyone that said something literally tried, no doubt about that. right? But it simply means we need to refine our research and be able to go a bit deeper, because some of these techniques can look seemingly alike, right? They can present themselves as though, yeah, they are the same, even though there are some elements of that in whatsoever that is being carried out. But the major aspect is you have to look at for the one that is so prominent, right? Basically, if you are to categorize this social engineering as a attack in this particular video, we'll be reverting it to, there was somebody that said pretexting. Who is that person? Unmute and speak. There was someone that said pretexting as his answer. Who was that person? Was that Wilson? Hello? Who was the person that mentioned pretexting? I have a gift for that person. No, that's why. Who was the person? Okay. Anyways, maybe he has gone to the kitchen or something. But that's the correct answer. Pretexting. And why is it pretexting? Or what are the characteristics you look out for in pretexting?
That was the
Right?
one, sir. My
That's a
next one,
Wilson,
please.
exactly. So that's the correct answer. You know, I when you answered, I purposely deviated, and the person that said baiting also was a bit close, right? And all of those are not the answer except pretexting, right? And we've been able to say that it is not a technical, it's a non-technical attack. You know, it relies on solely on psychology. Please, can you mute? Talon Jekiniton, please mute. Okay, so it relies solely on psychology, right? It presents a request that looks legitimate. Many of them, if you do a deep analysis, now I'm analyzing from a forensic standpoint now. Many of them, if you do a deep analysis, they were carried away by, I'm on TV. Hey, there's microphone in my front, right? And it looks as, the way the person that was interviewing was asking the question, it doesn't look as if it's something that you should be afraid of, right? It looks legitimate. It looks like, yeah, I'm going on national television, right? So as at that time, that, that feel of, it's like somebody bringing you out to say, hey, this person just won a big prize. The adrenaline in your body will be shouting. It will be praising God. That as at that time, if you make any decision, you make a wrong decision in most cases. So as at that period, they were not thinking. The critical thinking part of their brain had shut down. It's the psychology, right? And then also you're looking at from the victim's perspective. Oh, me too. I am on social media, or you know, I'm there. People are going to watch me on TV this evening. So everybody wanted to brag, right? And if they had said no in that kind of scenario, it would look like, wait a minute, this person will look as if he's not following. Is it bandwagon effect they call it now? He's not following the bandwagon. He's not being cooperative. So they had no choice but to just flow, and it helps them not to think at all, right? So it's a way to just keep the mind, at bay, so that the thinking part or the thinking cap is totally shut down. And those are scenarios you need to watch out for. So, like I said, from a forensic standpoint, if you are to analyze it deeply, the questions you will need to ask as a forensic investigator, let's say, for example, this particular attack has happened and, the damage has been done. The first question you will ask is, who was targeted and why? Who was targeted and why? what psychological lever was used, or what leverage did they, what did they leverage to gain access? Like we did an analysis now, right? And we reversed that same analysis from a forensic standpoint, right? They were looking at spotlight, you know. You want to speak to Mike, somebody that has not spoken to Mike before, has been watching people speaking on Mike. They put one mic in your front, you begin to spill, you know. And then what methods, what digital or human traces were left behind? Definitely, the video alone is a digital evidence. Video alone is a digital evidence. As that thing is now, I know definitely after that interview, because they said it was an awareness, so they will have told them probably to change their passwords, right? So for an attacker that wants to carry that video and wants to use that same video to go and carry out an analysis, right, of how they can attack that person, right, will just be working in vain. And that's why you have sites like Have I Been Pwned? You remember this site? Should have played with this in ethical hacking. But there are so many sites you will still torture. Have I Been Pwned? Do you know this website?
Yes, we do. We know.
You know it. Have you checked your passwords?
Have you checked your passwords? Yes, yes, I have. I use my email.
Okay, are you clean?
Yes, I am.
They have catch you. You know, so if you in that kind of scenario, if you were attacked maybe 5 years ago, and the password they caught with you, then you've changed it. By the time you put your data here, it will still show that yes, you are vulnerable. At yahoo.co.uk. So this was my first email address that I lost in 1995. I've not been able to recover it till today. And that was when I said, no, I will start dealing with attackers. And if you look at it, you still see it. Probably somebody is still using it, you know, because as at April 2025, it was still found in this data breach, right? As at 2019, it was still found in this data breach. They just keep moving it around. Onliner, spam bot, as at 2017, as at 2016, it was found in exploit.in. So it's like the person that hacked it then was in India. As at 2012, it was found in this. You see it? So it's still just flying around there. Though I don't use it any longer. But definitely it must be used currently now, probably to carry out different attacks. So that brings us back to what I was saying earlier. You know, the final question an investigator or a cyber forensics person would ask is, where did control fail? Right? And there are three major aspects we look at anytime we're talking of security. We're looking at the people, the process, and the technology. The people, the process, and the technology. Those three can mess up at any time. From social engineering standpoint, we're looking more at the people, right? But it doesn't eliminate the fact that, yes, you still need to look at the process and then also look at the technology that is surrounding it. Like if you look at cybercrime from an internal perspective, you're looking at insider attack. If you look at it from an external perspective, where we had our social engineering techniques, right, that we are elaborating on now as a moment. And the reason why I'm spending this quality amount of time on social engineering, like we said in our previous class, 90%, over 90%, according to Google search, over 90% of security attacks are social engineering related. And when they say social engineering, we're not just talking about voice, we're not just talking about links, We're not just talking about, we're looking at it holistically. We're looking at it in total sum, both technical and non-technical. So don't forget that. It's very, very important. The tiny bits that everybody knows is they've sent us a link and all of that. And I remember mentioning in the last class, there's a difference between a scammer and a hacker. Don't mix it up. There's a difference between a scammer and a hacker. They are two different. The Igimu is different. See the head. Like, you understand what I mean? Like, the nose is far from the head. Do you get? Even though they're all doing bad things. So that's just that about that. What are the examples of cyber crimes? Espionage, intellectual property thefts, data manipulation, Trojan horse attack, SQL attack, brute force attack. You have dealt with this in ethical hacking essentials, privilege escalation, denial of service, cyber defamation. This is the most current one here we are hearing in Nigeria. I will file you a defamation suit. Cyber terrorism, that has been in existence for long, and it's still happening today. Cyber warfare, all of these are still there. You can read them up. What are the impacts of cybercrime at the organization level? Taking us back to the beginning, where we're looking at information security policies and all of that. CIA triads. The moment you lose confidentiality, you lose integrity, you lose availability. What is remaining again? Then the organization should not even be called organization again, and theft of sensitive data. You as a customer will not want to keep your information with an organization that is loose with your information, because even in your own household, if you have a small boy that keeps going out to tell people information about your own household, you will not like him or her, so that's that. So sudden disruption of business activities, loss of customers and stakeholders trust, substantial reputational damage. This one, it will be hard to recover from it. Like, it's very hard to recover from it. Then huge financial loss, penalties arising from standardized organizations, ISO standards, compliance, there are compliance put in place to ensure that, yes, things run smoothly. There are compliance that our financial sectors go through yearly, right, to ensure that, yes, they are up and doing. Right, to ensure that, yes, they are up and doing. Someone's mic is unmuted. Please kindly mute up. So that is that. And that brings us into digital evidence. What is digital evidence? It's defined as any information of probative value that is either stored or transmitted. You remember we've established at the beginning that data can exist in different forms. Can exist in transit, and it can exist, when it is stored, at rest, So basically, digital evidence is any information that has probative value, either stored or transmitted. Digital evidence is circumstantial and it's fragile. In what circumstance? Like we were asking the other time, what was the scenario like when, the question was being asked on that video, the psychological leverage that was used, is that circumstance play a big role, and that circumstance can change, the output, essentially. Digital evidence is circumstantial and fragile in nature, which makes it difficult for a forensic investigator to trace criminal activities, right? It makes it very, very difficult. So imagine now, as a forensic investigator, we did not come across this video, but you and I, as forensic investigators, came across those people in the video that came to report to us or to our organization that their bank account has been hacked and all their money had gone. In fact, they might even forget that they might have forgotten, that they had that interview with anybody first, in the first place. It is that bad. So now imagine what you as a forensic investigator need to do to be able to trace the source of that attack, That's at that basic level. There's still other technical information that you need to gather that would assist your findings, so that you can be able to come up with a logical conclusion. So you must be able to connect the dots. If you have watched a lot of American movies, you will see, yes, you have one big board somewhere, and then you have markers that you mark out, evidences, and you link evidences. By the way, I would encourage us, to build our forensic lifestyle also. You can look into forensic games also. Forensic games that are in the App Store. Don't go for the free ones, but sometimes the free ones, you will click ads more than so you might just want to go with the one that will not, take much money from you. But definitely you'll be able to use them to learn. Like I said, it's all a mindset. So according to Locard's exchange principle, anyone or anything entering a crime scene takes something of that scene with them, and they leave something of themselves behind when they leave. Note this: anyone or anything entering a crime scene takes something of that scene with them and leaves something of themselves behind when they leave. And that is why you see in movies, investigators, forensic investigators are always well kitted up. They wear gloves, put on masks, put on glasses, because they don't want to add to the fingerprints that are on site, right? They are there to gather evidences. And you gather evidences as stealthy as possible, that you are not adding to the evidence, basically. So that's just that. Okay. Types of digital evidence: we have volatile data and non-volatile data. I gave an example of this. Data that are lost as soon as as soon as the device is powered off. That's a volatile data. It will be hard to recover them, even though there are ways to recover them. Examples include system time, logon user, open files, network information, and so on and so forth. What you copied on the clipboard, what the process is running on the memory, except you are hibernated. If you hibernate a system, by the time you turn it on, everything you were doing will still come back the same way it is. So that means if it was hibernated, then you can still get back some information. But if it is powered off, then it's totally gone. Non-volatile data, which is the permanent data that are stored in the secondary storage, such as hard disk, memory cards. In Linux systems, you have swap files and all of that, and so on and so forth. What's the basic role of digital evidence? Example of cases where digital evidence may assist the forensic investigator in the prosecution or defense of a suspect. We'll be able to identify the theft, malicious attacks on the computer systems themselves, information leakage, right? Unauthorized transmission of information, theft of commercial secrets, use or abuse of the internet, production of false documents and accounts. This one, I think the headquarters is Oluwole in Lagos. Sorry. Wait, does Oluwole even still exist in Lagos? Because it's like, it was those days. Unauthorized encryption or password protection, abuse of system, and email communication between suspects / conspirators. So that's that about that. What are the source of potential evidence? Files that were created. This time around, we're moving into the system full time, right? Where we'll be talking about the file systems and all of that. The files that were created, the user protected files, the computer created files. Computer created files are backup files, log files, configuration files, printer spool files, cookies, swap files, system files, history files, temporary files. User protected files are compressed files, encrypted files that probably you yourself decided to hide or to use uh, uh, encryption to encrypt those data. User created files, we have address book, database files, your pictures, your documents, and internet books. There are other sources of potential evidence also, flash drive, hard drive, you know. Let me talk about thumb drive. Thumb drive is what we call flash drive, right? Basically, the name has grown over the years. I remember there was a flash drive I got at the point was I think 128 MB or so, and then I was still trying to just practice and test so many tools. And by the way, this is to every one of us also. If a new tool is out there, make sure you download it and try to test it. It will help you to get familiar with it. So if you get to a place and they ask you, do you know about this software, and you use it, you can say, yes, I've played around with it. I've tested it. I've worked with it. You can be able to say, yes, this software gives this kind of result more than this, even though you might not have used it at an enterprise level, but that you have interacted with it alone is a good step forward in the right direction. So I played around with some of those tools back then, and lo and behold, I think I was trying to recover from a 128 MB flash drive. And the recovery I saw, those flash drives that they used to put brown leather around it back in those days. I used to have one small button like this. That was the type. No, it wasn't what it was 512. It was 512 MB. And then I just recovered it and then pulled out a whole lot of information. To my greatest surprise, I saw information that was dated back as 1996, 97, thereabout. I was so surprised. I was like, wait a minute. Now, the person probably snapped those pictures back then and they converted them and saved them on the flash. So the flash was not, as at that time itself, I don't think they've made 512 MB flash drive. No. So it's like the person as at 1997 or 98 thereabout literally actually had a copy and copied it on the flash. And the person was in the US. So when I did the data recovery, I wanted to recover the data that was just maybe deleted some few days ago. And I was finding data that was dating back as 19 something. I was like, wait a minute. I saw the picture. I saw the former owner of the flash, a UK used flash. Just try and imagine. That's to show you how, some of these stuffs can be, so vulnerable. And that is why, yeah, if you are done using anything, you must wipe them the easy and the legal way, whereby you will not leave any traces on those devices. So yeah, the same thing too goes with hard disk. Even though nowadays hard disk and SSDs are totally different, the way you will recover data from hard disk is slightly different from the way you will recover from SSD. And the reason is very simple. The methods by which data were written into them are totally different, right? HDD hard disk was using the previous old methods. SSD is using electronics, right? And that's where your knowledge in areas like from not the prom of school, programmable read, Sunday memory, yeah. All of this comes into play. You see, this is a type of non-volatile, we just mentioned it now, one-time programmable memory where data is written after manufacturing using a specialized device, blah, blah, blah. These are just basic good to know information. Then we have EEPROM. You can just read about them. You don't need to go and start getting the book or start learning about it. Just read about it. Learn about it basically. EEPROM is also a non-volatile byte addressable semiconductor memory used in computer devices to store small amounts of data, as the case will be. And so many that are, are used for many processes in some of these our memory cards, in our thumb drives, in our hard drive, you know, that digital camera is there. So that's just that. And there are so many other sources too. Also, just think of, like I said, anything that can connect to the internet, anything that is using a charger or adapter, you know, or is connecting directly to light and it's hardware and it has a software inside it, you know, because I said the last class, to every hardware there's a software, and hardware have vulnerability, software too has vulnerabilities, you know, as the case would be. What are the rules of evidence? This is very important. There are laws, there are standards, there are protocols that are put in place. Digital evidence collection must be governed by what? 5 basic rules that makes it what? Admissible in the court of law. Please note, this is very important. You don't want to stress and gather all the data, finish, and realize that the court will just throw it out, you know, and they can throw it out on grounds of technicalities. As simple as that is. So number one, your evidence must be understandable. I've mentioned this earlier. It must be clear enough so that the judges can read simple English and understand. They don't want plenty technical jargon. Evidence must be related to the fact being proved. So you must have dot all your I's and crossed all your T's and do the mapping, do the linking before getting to present it as a forensic investigator. The evidence must be authentic, that is, it must be real and appropriately related to the incident. The evidence must be reliable. There must be no doubt whatsoever. The moment there is doubt, for somebody who is not an IT person, who is not technically savvy, it can be easy to just throw it out about the authenticity or veracity of that evidence. It must be complete. The evidence must prove the attacker's action or his or her innocence. You know, those are the 5 major basic rules that you look out for, basically. What's the best evidence rule? It states that the court only allows the original evidence of a document, a photograph, or a recording at the trial rather than a copy. So you can't bring photocopy to the law court. Somebody will ask, if it is photocopy, if we don't bring photocopy, then this is our Nigeria that they can attack you on the road. You protect the evidence with your life to get to the court, because that's what the court would find admissible. So after tendering it in court, it is now the duty of the court to keep it safe. Do you get? And the moment they admit it as evidence 1 or evidence 2 or whatsoever name it may be called, right, that means they are going to use it for whatever prosecution that is ahead. The principle underlining best evidence rule is that the original evidence is considered as the best evidence. No, any other one is a counterfeit. Federal laws, federal rules of evidence. The case study here is United States. Yeah, they are the most advanced. They are one of the most advanced. Most developed countries have most advanced evidence presentation rules, right? This rule shall be constructed to secure fairness in administration, elimination of unjustifiable expense and delays. It's not like somebody will be carrying out a case for 30 years. They've not finished. You know, now there are cases that can be that long, you know, no doubt. But the truth of the matter is, there are some that, yes, they are just delaying. You know, the one that pains me the most is there are cases, because I do watch some of these American channels a lot, where you hear, oh, okay, oh, it's after 30 years, they were able to, based on evidences they found, after the person has been convicted for over 40 years, he has been in prison for over 40 years, they now discover that he was not the one that did it. And what they needed to have done that time was probably maybe a DNA test or something, you know. And you made somebody just spend 40 years of his life, you know, in prison. Man, that's crazy. That's crazy. How do you repay the person? The person literally doesn't have a life, but with God, all things are possible. So things can happen. It can come out within 1 year and then God settles it. So scientific working group on digital evidence. Principle 1 states that in order to ensure that the digital evidence is collected, preserved, examined, or transferred in a manner safeguarding the accuracy and reliability of the evidence. You see, it's still enforcing on the same thing. Accuracy and reliability of the evidence is key to a successful forensic investigation and tendering at the court. Law enforcement and forensic organization must establish and maintain an effective quality system. So you have standard criteria 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3. The summary of 1.1 is seize and or examine digital evidence. They must be maintained in a standard operating procedure document. That's SOP document. Every of the evidence, of the digital evidence, must be kept there. For standard and criteria 1.2, agency management must review the SOPs from time to time to ensure continued sustainability and effectiveness. You cannot want to use a constitution that was created 150 years to rule a people who are 300 years after the 150 years. That's 450 in total. And it's crazy. There are baselines. There are some that must be there. There are some that you can't change. Yes. They are there. They can have one or two modifications, but they are there. But there are some that you can't use them again now. Social media was not around 450 years ago. So why are you telling me no? Do you get? So a constant review must be there. Same thing too applies here. Procedures used must be generally accepted in the field or supported by data gathered or recorded in a scientific manner. The procedure step by step must be well documented. This particular aspect is an aspect that from ethical hacking, it is a process you must learn. And I hope the people in SAIP 3.0 are hearing this, right? One of the greatest assignments that will be giving you is documentation. So yeah, you've done ethical hacking. You have been moved from the Department of Ethical Hacking to Network Defense, right? From the Department of Network Defense, you are now moving to forensics, right? Something is similar to those three environments. It is documentation, effective documentation. It can be tiring, it can be cumbersome, especially if you don't start early. And that's why I will always advise, have a framework in place that would help you. The moment you have a system in place that you are just putting the elements inside, the documentation will be faster. And documentation is one of the ways by which you yourself will grow and you will know that you are growing. Do you get? So like I gave an example earlier, the trainings you have been going through, only few persons have been documenting their growth on LinkedIn, for example. The reason why you're documenting on LinkedIn is to be able to put yourself out there, tag the organization, tag your friends, tag people that have followers that are bigger than you. Do you get? The moment that happens, people will rush to your page. People that are not even doing cybersecurity, they do this on a daily basis. You get? So, and they are doing that to just gain visibility. When this guy came to Nigeria, what's his name again? That streamer, Speed or something Speed, yeah. When he came to Nigeria, everybody was running around. They wanted to take picture with him. They wanted to put themselves out there. Why? For visibility or nothing more. It's not like they like the guy. Even Pella, that has spoken bad about him before, he too wanted to show, because he knows whether he likes it or yes, it's going to affect his own growth also. So it must be done in a forensically sound manner. So and so on and so forth. I'll wrap up this, then I'll give us a quick break. then we convene back again. So the Association of Chief Policy Officers, which is ACPO. Yes, Miss C. David has a question. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. So my question is about the pre-testing. I just want to know the difference between that pre-testing and quid pro, because you said the answer is pre-testing and then you gave explanation that is more related to quid pro, because I know that pre-testing is like pretending to be like a military officer or an IT staff or like a police safe. And given that situation, which is a physical scenario, the interview is like a street interview. So putting myself now, let me say they're interviewing me now. What I would think of first is the reward. The reward, which is like, oh, these people are going to feature me in their TV, or people are going to watch me speak. Because I don't know if I'm seeing it from another angle. I'm taking it to this modern social media now, where people are doing a lot of street interview and a lot of people are giving out their sensitive information regardless, because they just want to be popular, because they just want to show up and like get more fame. So I'm saying, maybe, I don't know, maybe you should clear the difference. And I would have even said baiting, but baiting now is the targets now do not even know that that person is setting him. But this quid pro now, we both know that you are gaining something for me and you are giving me information. So I don't know if you can like clear it up for me.
Okay, so let me explain it this way. Thank you for bringing that up. Right now, the moment it is pre-texting, what you're looking at the major. You're looking at the intention. So it's like this thing is more like the intention versus exchange, because quid pro has to focus on exchange. There is something, you give me something, I give you something, or you do this and get that. Do you understand? That is quid pro, if you look at it critically, right? But pretexting means that you're literally, the main tactics that pretexting engage in is you're literally creating a false scenario. Do you get? You're creating a false scenario or an identity. You are leveraging on psychological, trust, authority, or legitimacy. Do you get? That is what is being, put there. Now, the truth is, the two sometimes can overlap. The two, like I was talking about baiting. So in that social engineering, what do they call it again? Experiment, right? It was an experiment. You and I know it was an experiment, right? But there were some elements of baiting questions that were thrown out, right? So that the person that initially did not want to even give off his password later was convinced to give off the password. Why? Because he was baited. Do you understand?
Yes. And so what is the baiting element then? Like for me now, for instance, now the person is interviewing me. Like, what is my intention? Like, what do you think would make me give my password just like that?
So now the person must have studied your psychology to be able to pick that from you. Now, this element happens most times. Let's say, for example, are you in Nigeria?
Yes, I am.
Which part in Nigeria? Lagos or outside Lagos?
Lagos, sir. Lagos.
So there are some places you will enter to buy some things. If you are not careful, no matter how smart you are, if you enter some places to buy some things, you might go out with your phone missing. No matter how smart you think you are. Because there was one that happened in Yaba of recent, where somebody can just come out from nowhere and start shouting, yes, now that brother, now him, he buy the market from my hand, he no pay. If you look back and you stay in their midst there, they have about 7 or 8 persons around you. As in, it's a planned attack. It's a planned attack, but it started by, element of familiarity. And somebody did a video of recent and then had to call them out, like, come, don't bring in near me. Said he looked at them and shouted back. He moved away from their environment and all of them started retreating, And by the time that, mode was already, many people already know that pattern, right? They stopped using it. They changed pattern. Do you understand? So there are so many elements, and sometimes they might look alike, but you're looking at the one that is most prevalent. Do you understand? So that you can be able to help classify it. And the reason why you're classifying is, let's say, for example, the thing show in exam, and you have option A, option B, option C. You will go for the one that is the closest. I know, hopefully, maybe when you come in fully for class and we're, dealing with some questions, you will understand what I'm saying better. But in terms of pretexting and Quid Pro focuses on, you do this and get that, buy one, get five free and all those, stuff. While pretexting focuses on the intent. It leverages, trust, leverages on authority. Those are the psychological elements it plays around with. While Quid Pro looks at reciprocity, looks at obligations, and as the case may be. But the two can overlap. They can be, interchangeably, used. So, for example, now there's an example here. Oh, hi, I'm from IT. We are auditing your accounts. What's your password? It's from IT. They're auditing my account, right? Oh, okay. What's my password? And imagine there are two ways. It's either the victim will comply because it sounds legitimate, like you wouldn't think of it twice, especially if it is a physical thing where the person has changed into the uniform of the organization, even has a tag. He's even there with you you understand, in the organization, But for that person, you might want to default back to the policies that are put in place, saying, wait a minute, the policy says that nobody will ask you your password, verbally. So it's even wrong for anybody to ask you your password except IT. Even if IT will do it, they will tell you to do a reset. Do you understand? So all of those elements for that time, the person is just working on triggers. He wants to psychologically trigger the person, playing the role of authority, giving you a familiar role, familiar spirit. But if it was quid pro quo, it would be something like, can I get your information so that you can get access to this service? I can fix your problems, like scammers they do. How many of us watch this payback scammer? Huh? Mercy. Oh, sorry.
So I'm here.
Do you watch scammer payback or payback scammer?
No.
Oh, okay. Let me drop it on the group so that we can look at it. Just settle down and watch some of their videos, right? You would see, scammers use that a lot. Yeah, I can fix your email problem for you. Please just log in first. And then you give information. Why? Because you want him to fix your problem, right? That's an exchange. That exchange has happened. And it's happening in form of like an help. You push the person into a scenario where the person is helpless, and then you are the one providing the solution, as the case may be, right? But in real life, real life does not even understand English. That's the main point I'm coming to. All these categories we are speaking about, they bundle everything together. Technical, non-technical.
That is where the confusion is.
It goes back to back. But when you want to answer exams, you look at the one that is most prevalent in that context. Do you get? You look at for the one that is most prevalent in that context. So from a forensic perspective, which is what because we're dealing with forensics today, right? You must be able to understand how the trust was established, when you are carrying out the forensic in that kind of scenario, So I think that answers your question. Let me push back to this here. Okay. So principle 1, no action taken by law enforcement agencies or their agents. Their agents should not change data held on a computer or storage. Why? Because they need that information in the court. And that is why, for example, if an attack happened on a machine, for example, you're not meant to tamper with those evidence. You can bring in your forensic toolkit, create an exact clone or an exact copy of that data or of that device, and go and check it in the labs and carry out an investigation in the lab. But the real machine, don't tamper with it. It needs to be exact same way it is, so that on the day of judgment you can present it to them and they will make judgment. After that has been done, other methods, other steps can then now come into play. So in exceptional circumstances where a person finds it necessary to access original data held on a computer or on storage media, that person must be what? Competent to do so. And this is now an exception to the first principle, right? And be able to explain his or her actions and impact of those actions on the evidence in courts. Do you get? Like the example I gave us, that we spent 3 weeks or more. We needed to recover data. Data recovery was paramount, number 1. Number 2, we were working on live servers that must not go off, servers that clients must not know that anything has happened to the data. You know what that can be for the organization, So, and God helped us, we're able to hold the front, for a long period of time for that recovery to happen. Even when the recovery happened, not all was totally recovered, because as at last backup, the last backup was almost very far, almost like 8 months old. So that was where the stress was. So we're just bent on how can we decrypt the ransomware so that we can be able to, we're able to decrypt some, but a larger portion, we're unable to get that back, And that brings me to a particular aspect, how many of us have re-registered our MTN line in this country? Just drop an emoji if you have re-registered your MTN line several times. Especially when you finish registering, they will still tell you, come after maybe like 8 months or 6 months to come and register again. How many of us? Drop an emoji or drop something in the chat box. Or we're not in Nigeria. Drop an emoji or drop something in the chat box if you have had cause to re-register your MTN line, for example. Oh, that's interesting. So there's nobody here. Me, I'm number 1. Though. They've told me to register like 3-4 times. I'm seeing yes. Omeke Lovina, your hand is up. Go ahead of me and speak. Okay. Yes, Adeshola, yeah. Wisdom, yes, I see you. You have registered once. You have re-registered once, okay? Okay. Omeke Lovina, I see your hand is up. Please unmute and speak. Oh. You have the floor to speak. Okay, so I'm not hearing from her, but that's fine. Okay, so basically you would realize that those times, one of the major challenges they were having was they had data loss. Data loss, I don't know what it was due to. It could be due to maybe backup or storage damage or what have you, you know. So they didn't come out to say, yes, we had data loss, but they had to just say, everybody come and re-register, or we're bringing in a new, you know, stuff. There was a time similar thing to happen to GT, I think almost 2 years ago now, you know, when you were using their app and all of a sudden they did an upgrade or an update or something. For whatever reason, the upgrade did not go well. So they had to revert back. And after reverting back in the process, they discovered that many data were not there, you know, and then people's balance was different. Somebody that was having a negative balance started having positive balance. All day, you know. But God helped them, they were able to quickly recover. But it was noticeable around 2 years ago, towards the tail end of 2024, I guess, you know. And there was a time around that same period that they had this attack, this DNS related kind of attack. So they were able to still manage that. So that's just that. Principle 3 states that an audit trail or other records of all processes applied to computer-based electronic evidence should be created and preserved. An independent third party should be able to examine those processes and archive the same results. So whatever process you're having should be repeatable. You know, because you are the one that did it does not mean that if any other person comes in, he shouldn't be able to itemize and understand it. You know, they should be able to understand it. Principle 4, the person in charge of the investigation, which is the case officer, has overall responsibility for ensuring that the law and these principles are adhered to. They are strictly adhered to. You know, very, very important. You know, so that's that about that. Forensic readiness. Forensic readiness refers to an organization's ability to optimally use digital evidence in a limited period of time and with minimal investigation costs. Remember, I mentioned this. Some of these things you're learning, try as much as possible to implement it in your day-to-day life. That's the only way it can become a part of you. That's the only way it can become a mindset. That's the way you can own it and know that, yes, you are getting ready for the job, you know, so that when you get on the job, what you will start learning on the job will not be so much, right? There's so much to learn, no doubt, but definitely what you will be learning on the job will be job focused or job oriented, you know, basically, because you'll have gone past the basics. And what are the benefits of forensic readiness? Fast and efficient investigations, right? Minimal disruption to the business. Provide security for cyber crimes such as intellectual property theft, fraud, or extortion. Offers structured storage of evidence that reduces the cost and time of an investigation. It improves law enforcement interface, helps the organization use the digital evidence in its own defense, which is very, very, very important. The other parts are good reads. You can read them off. Forensic readiness and business continuity. Forensic readiness helps maintain business continuity by allowing quick and easy identification of the impacted component and replacing them to continue the service and business. Like the example I gave you, you know, out of 20 servers, 8 were totally shut down first. You know, those ones, they were not needed for active business. But the remaining 12, they had to be on. We had to start, you know, moving them one after the other. We got about 6 clean servers, you know, that we had to provision and then transfer services from server 1 into new server 2, into new server 1, transfer, you know, stuff into new server 2, clean the processes, ensure that the backups were cleaned and up to date, and then we push the server back online. After pushing the server back online and realizing that it was active and it was working, we had to now, I wouldn't say decommission, we had to unplug, you know, the infected one off the internet, and then other activities were going on. Change IP addresses, reroute DNSs, as it did a whole lot, you know, and all of that to stay clean and ensure that others are not infected. Forensic readiness allows businesses to quickly determine the incidents, collect legally sound evidences, and analyze it to identify attackers, minimize the required resources, right? Quickly recover from damage with less downtime, gather evidences to claim insurance, legally prosecute the perpetrators, and claim damages, which is still what I've been saying since morning. Lack of forensic readiness may result in loss of clients, system downtime, data manipulation, deletion, and theft, inability to collect legal sound evidence. And if you can't collect legally sound evidence, what does that impact? You can't make a case in the court. That means they will always win against you. Forensic readiness plan. Everything has a plan. Planning is everything when it comes to security. Nothing happens just off the top of the head. There's a playbook, there's a rule book, there is a how it must be done, there is a diligent process in place. There are times that you don't even need to use your brain. Like it is stated there, just follow it. Following it will save you a whole lot. Save you a whole lot. It will save you. Note that word. It will save you a whole lot. To save you from troubles, to save you from problems. Identify the potential evidence required for an incident, determine the sources of evidence, define a policy that determines the pathway to legal extraction. Yeah, sorry, I can see Emmanuel Larry's hand up. So I'll take your question, then we'll go for a quick 10 minutes break. Ebenezer?
Thank you,
yes,
sir.
yeah.
Those processes that you did to clean up the server and all of that, I want to ask, does it apply to cloud hosted servers too?
Yes, it applies to them.
Okay, assuming
but
you
it depends. It depends on the context. There are some cloud servers that they've been replicated, right? Their data, as they have, how will I put it? They have a redundant server somewhere else, right? So if the server A is actively getting information to clients and from clients, right? It has a backup server where everything happening on server A is directly replicated into the backup, right? So if anything happens within the time of replication or before the time of replication, before the time of the most recent replication, right? Sometimes they will just decommission that particular affected server and push production or continue production with the backup, right? Why they recreate another backup. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I want to ask, what if you are employed remotely to work remotely? How can you be able to achieve all of this? Because you said you were on site and you did all of that. Maybe sometimes you have to do some wiring, some all of it. Maybe changing location of the. I don't know. Anyway,
okay,
I'm just taking that as an instance. If you are employed remotely, how can you be able to do all of that, achieve all of that?
Okay, so it's like this, right? The moment you say employed remotely, then that means you have a job description, right? And that job description means that you'll be relating with those hardwares, right? Remotely, via your system that they gave you, you connect to it, you do whatsoever. When that is done, and maybe you need a physical access to the server, now you will not be the one that will have physical access to the server. They have people on ground where you will escalate your issue to. That, oh, I'm working on this issue, I've not been able to get this done. Why? Because I need this to be done on ground. I need the cable to be verified on ground, Then that one, you will now need to refer to the infrastructure department. The infrastructure department are the ones in charge of that, and they might be able to deploy at their own discretion, right? But for you, most times that are working remotely, everything you're doing essentially is software based. right? So you are interacting with the device. If your JD or your job description aligns that, you are interacting with the device online, and that brings me to the question you asked now. The example I gave is such that there was an hybrid operation. And when I say hybrid operation, hybrid cloud operation. So there is a part of the organization that is on-prem, right? Every of the server is on-prem. There is a part that was just recently migrated to the cloud. And that part that was migrated to the cloud was the intranet portion. And when you are talking of intranet, you are talking of everything that they are using to manage their emails within their organization, sending information within themselves, because they have over how many millions of staffs, as the case will be, so that manages that system. Do you get? So if you're looking at an hybrid operation, it's slightly different from just a solely uh, 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 on-prem operation or a solely cloud operation. Nowadays, with so many cloud operations, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, everything as a service, everything is on the internet. So you don't even have to worry about the storage location, right? And in most cases, there are data center managers, right? If you have ever entered a data center, you better you wear big suit and big coat, because code can carry you away. Okay, so that's just that. Okay, so are there any other questions in 3 minutes before we go for our 10-minute break? Then we'll reconvene. Then I will talk about some other aspect. Then we'll look at wrapping up. How many of us would like the extension of this class by 1 hour? Please drop it in the chat box if you would like the extension of this class by 1 hour. Okay, so let's go, in the absence of any question, let's go for a 10 minutes break, and we'll reconvene back here as we begin to round up. Thank you. So basically, like I was saying, forensic readiness planning, it's very, very important. It helps the organization to prepare themselves ahead for incidents that might occur and how to handle them. The needs for forensic investigators, cybercrime investigation, sound evidence handling, incident handling, and response. Yada, still the same processes and procedures. The role and responsibility of a forensic investigator: determine the extent of the damage, recover data, maintains integrity, guides the official carrying out the investigation. You analyze the evidence, data found, prepare the analysis reports. Don't forget, I mentioned this: documentation, analysis reports, reporting are part of the key strengths of a forensic investigator, of an ethical hacker, of a network defense essential person, with network defender. Update the organization about the various attack methods and data recovery techniques, and maintain a record of them. Don't forget, maintain a record of them. You must always keep records. So you can start that as an habit by individually keeping personal records first. Address the issues in court of law and attempt to win the case by testifying in court. So you, as a forensic investigator, in some cases or in most cases, will be called upon to come and testify. Of the document where you write, you have to come and speak to it, as the case may be. What makes a good computer forensic investigator? It cannot be overemphasized. Your interviewing skills. So we need to grow our skills, and that is why if you come to train with us as Sardonyx, this training is something that we can't exhaust. It's a whole lot of process on its own. But when you come in for training or you register for some of our training, those are part of the processes we will grill you through. You are made to present in class from time to time, and most times it will be impromptu, whereby you can enhance your interviewing skills, So whereby you can enhance your interviewing skills. You can look for ways by which you communicate to people out there, because you have to be bold, you have to be confident, you have to be sure of what you are giving out. You don't want to do a forensic, you don't want to be a forensic investigator that we guess. I think you have to be certain. You have to work with evidences. You have to work with the right amount of information, which is very, very important. Which is very, very important. Excellent writing skills to detail findings in the report, strong analytical skills to findings. So analytical skills, you're not born with them, you grow into them, and they keep evolving from time to time based on the experiences you're having, based on the people you interact with. They'll keep growing that way. Okay, excellent communication skills to explain their findings to the audience. You must remain updated about new technologies and forensic technologies. Well versed in more than one computer platform. This is the part I'm getting to, and that's the part we'll be rounding up from, including Windows, Macintosh, and Linux. Have a good knowledge of various technologies, hardwares, softwares, develop and maintain contact with computing, network, and investigating professionals, has knowledge of the law. You must not be a novice when it comes to the law that is surrounding cybersecurity, and general law, relevant to that particular case, So that's that. Uh, I would wrap this part up. Computer forensic and legal compliance. Now, someone is saying, the documents are much, over 5,000 pages. We are using 5,000 pages. And there is no compliance we are talking of here that you did not mention. If you have read your ethical hacking essentials, right, that you've not mentioned there. So you shouldn't look at it as something that is cumbersome. Like I said, it's a continuum. They are into one another. There's a margin point between ethical hacking essentials, network defense essentials, and digital forensic essentials. They have a lot of things in common. So if you have read EHE and you have read NDE to a certain level, it's just to pick the terminologies in DFE and also relate with other tiny aspects that are not mentioned in EHE, right? But this part you're looking at was extensively discussed, in ethical hacking essentials, where we're talking about the GDPR, right? The Semba-Oxley Act, PCI DSS, right? Payment Card Industry Standards, HIPAA, right? FISMA, the Grammy-Leach-Billy Act, and the Electronic Communication Privacy Act, Like I said, don't cram anything, just understand them, So for example, if I pick GDPR, for example, I know it's General Data Protection Regulations. What's it all about? Data protection, just relate with it like something you can relate with. Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. Even from the name, you already know what it's meant to do. It's for the card industry. And what are you protecting? Card holders' data, card holders' information, so many other things around that. And that would just help you to understand them. Legal compliance in computer forensic ensures that any evidence that is collected and analyzed is admissible in court. I've said this a number of times since we've been talking here. It must be admissible in court. So you need to know the laws before you can present something that will be acceptable by the law. If you don't know the law, then as a forensic investigator, I just learning work, And there are other relevant laws, country to country, state to state, UK, Australia, India, know their names, know what they stand for, and that's just that. So I've mentioned part of the process of forensic investigation, but I'll just reiterate it quickly. There's the pre-investigation phase, there's the investigation phase, and there's the after investigation phase, right? At each of the phases, you as a forensic investigator must not tamper with what? Evidences. No matter what, you as a forensic investigator must not and should not tamper with what? Evidences. It's very, very important. So that's that. Forensic investigation process is a methodological approach to investigate, seize, and analyze digital evidence. We mentioned this at the beginning also. And then manage the case. Now, note the new word here. You have cases. You are entering the legal part of it from time to time, of the search and results to reporting and investigation results. Importance of forensic investigation process. Why? To ensure integrity, to comply with local laws and establish precedents. The local laws are part of the ones we mentioned some few seconds ago, right? For China, their law is different from that of Nigeria. Nigerian law is slightly, in line or in the same vein with that of UK, because British was the one that colonized Nigeria. So if British is using GDPR, Nigeria will use NDPR. It's copy, same thing, but it's applicable locally, right? The investigator must follow a repeatable and well-documented sets of steps. I've mentioned this also before in my chat earlier. You come across a lot of things I've spoken about, setting up for computer forensic lab. This is very important. A computer forensic lab is a location that houses instruments. Note that word, instruments. So it's not just one thing, it's plenty. Software, hardware tools, forensic workstations required for conducting, a computer-based investigation. Forensic workstations, they are not workstations that you go and log in your personal email and personal stuff inside. No, it has to be related with the stuff you're doing. Planning and budgeting consideration, physical and structural design considerations, work area consideration. There must be enough lighting, there must be internet, physical security consideration, human resource consideration, then the forensic lab licensing, which is key. So it's not just everybody that can wake up and go and say, I want to have a lab because I've done digital forensic essentials. No, you must be licensed. As a pen tester, you must be licensed. As a network defender, you must have those licenses because they will back you up. Building the investigation team. Keep the team small. It's very key. Why? Because you want to protect confidentiality of the investigation and to guard against information leaks. Identify team members and assign them responsibility. Ensure that every team member has the necessary clearance and authorization. This cannot be overemphasized at an enterprise level because you don't want to go and lay your hands on something and then the next thing, they will say the person is in court, from court to prison, from prison, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. This security job is not here. Now, you might not see those things happening in Nigeria that much, but in US, a small scandal or a small, stuff robbing you in and send somebody to jail. Neat, as in very neat, especially when you cannot prove it. So that's just basic about that. Then the computer forensic investigation methodology. The methodology starts with documenting the electronic crime scene, search and seizure. The moment you lay your hands on artifacts or evidence, you must search and seize them. You label them just the way you watch in movies. You tag them, evidence 1, evidence 2, point 3, point 4, like that. Take pictures, take screenshots, take a lot. Evidence preservation, case analysis, right? Evidence preservation, data acquisition. That's the part of the search and seizure process. And then you have the data analysis, you have case analysis, because after data analysis, you have been able to sort them out. And somebody will be saying, do they do data analysis also in cybersecurity? Yes, There's nothing you're looking for that is not done in cybersecurity. Even akara frying is done in cybersecurity because people that are carrying out security must eat too also. So you fry your akara before you leave your house. And then, just kidding, by the way. So you have case analysis, reporting, and testifying as an expert witness, as the case is. Okay, so that's that. Data analysis, examine, refers to the process of examining, identifying, separating, that is, you're sorting out the data you have gathered and converting and modeling the data to isolate useful information. That's data analysis. And then it depends on the scope of the case or the client's requirements. If the client's requirement is help us find the person that got into this system, they will trace and discover that it's coming from the receptionist system. Who used receptionist system the last time? Oh yeah, check CCTV camera. They check CCTV camera. They discovered that, oh, okay, it was on so date. They analyzed logs of everybody that logged in that day. They didn't see anything. They discovered that, oh, somebody connected to receptionist system remotely, which is indicative of, an attacker from an external point or from even within the organization. You need to isolate. The flowchart keeps growing like that. These phases includes the following, which is analysis of the file, the content, the date, timestamps, and note, as ethical hackers or as hackers, right? There are some things that are done that they will be able to insert logs and delete logs. If it's an experienced hacker, he can remove the previous logs and put a new one that will that will misguide whoever is carrying out the forensics. So, as a forensic investigator, you need to deep dive and know, how to decipher, all of that. Case analysis. Investigators can relate the evidential data to the case details for understanding how the complete incident took place and determine the future actions as, it may be, and so on and so forth. Writing the investigation report, you cannot overemphasize this. You need to put a whole lot. And what are the important aspects of a good report? It should accurately define the details of an incident. It should convey all necessary information in a concise manner. It should be technically sound and understandable to the target audience. It should be structured in a logical manner so that information can be easily located. It should be able to withstand legal inspection. And legal inspections are queries. They will ask you foolish questions at some point. So if you are not patient enough, you just be getting angry. It's still part of it. So patience is part of, the skill set. It should adhere to local laws to be admissible also in court. Forensic investigation report templates, just like every other reports, executive summary is important to be there. But the difference of this with other reports is you now have a case number, right? You must have names. Here now, in this example, you are seeing social security numbers of the author. Nigeria, it might be the NIN of the author, as the case may be. This is just a template. Purpose of investigation, significant findings, signature analysis. Now, this being a template doesn't mean it should always be like this. So, for example, I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements here. In your own executive summary, you can have up to 10. It's your environment, so you know what is needed to be in the executive summary. But executive summaries are always very small, because you don't want to bore them with a lot of information. It's something that is just like abstract when you're writing your thesis or you're writing a proposal. The abstracts will tell the details of what is needed. So it's all about technical writing reports, technical report writing, sorry. Details of the incident, date and time, blah, 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 the investigation process, and so on, evidence, information, the location of the evidence, the list of what was collected, how the evidence was preserved, who the evidence is with, Is it the bailiff at the court, or it is with the CTO with their signatures, just having things to keep there. Evaluation and analysis process. Initial evaluation of the evidence, investigative techniques, analysis of the computer evidence to also involved. Relevant findings, supporting files, and then other supporting details. All of these go a long way. So that's just that about that. Testifying as a witness, which is still part of your last obligation, right? Presenting digital evidence in court requires knowledge of the new, specialized, evolving, and sometimes complex technology. So like I was telling someone of recent, I said, if you have been in IT for a while and you decide to go and read law, right, you will not spend time before you will be a pro in cybercrime. And if you have been reading law for a while, right, and you are coming into cybersecurity, it will not take you a lot of time, provided, note that word, provided you have the zeal, the zest, and the zinc to be able to carry through. You must be ready to give it all it takes, which is what we are encouraging everyone here to do. Familiarize the expert witness with the usual procedure that are followed during a trial. The attorney introduces the expert witness. The opposing counsel may try to discredit the expert witness, which is true. They will throw you questions, like I said, they will bombard you. They will ask you foolish questions, so you must be ready to emotionally get balanced and know how to handle such scenarios. The attorney leads the expert witness through the evidences. Then later, as you see in the court, cross-examination. Me speaking like this, you would think maybe I'm one I'm one professional lawyer. No, I just decided that instead of going to start learning law, let me start watching legal videos, right? So watching legal videos has helped me to understand how the court system works. So if I'm to present, findings or reports in the law court as I stand now, I will not be a total novice. Let's now imagine I now decide that, okay, I'm now going to that school. You know, that's a different ball game entirely. So this other part talks about the different types of storage devices, which I mentioned a little the other time, their characteristics, understanding the logical structure of a disk, understanding the boot process of Windows, right? Linux and Mac operating system, overview of various file systems of Windows, Linux, and all of that. Analyzing file system using autopsy and the cellute hit, as the case is. I mentioned HDD earlier. I mentioned SSD earlier. So we'll be deep diving into this by tomorrow's class before you write your exam, basically. But it's something you can read up out there on the internet. You can't talk about the booting process without talking about the post, which is the power on self-test, right? Like I showed us the EEPROM, the EEPROM. I'll be deep diving into all of this tomorrow prior to writing of your exam. So we can't talk about the boot process without talking of, let me write it well, computer. Okay, yeah, which is power on self-test. And what does this mean? It's very straightforward. If you are going out for a party, you will check yourself. Or if you want to drive your car out in the morning, you will check, is there water in the carburetor? Is there fuel in the car? You test your brake, you test your clutch, if, if you don't have a clutch, then you're using an auto vehicle. So you test everything, essentially. So before a system comes on, basically, it will carry on what we call power on self-test, right? And a crucial diagnostic routine, which starts from the BIOS. What do we refer to as the BIOS, which is the basic input and output system. It's not a big English, Everything that the computer is a hardware that has a software, right? a hardware that must work with a software. They cannot work separately, right? So the BIOS is looking at how many things is giving me inputs, how many things is giving me output. Before I will start, let me check that everything is in place, right? The moment it checks everything is in place and it does the power and self-test, and then mouse is working, keyboard is working. If any of it, peradventure, has issues and is not working, that's when you get error. Your battery is this, your that one is this, the mouse is not connected, plug and replug and unplug. And the moment you have that, everything has a process, it has a file system. We've established this already. HDD is a non-volatile digital data storage device that records data magnetically on a metallic plate. How many of us have seen CD before? If there's any Gen Z here, you might have not seen it. Compact disc. Don't mind me. Compact disc, right? This is what it looks like. And it has grown over the years. This is what compact disc looks like. That's still the same element, but with larger capacity that is in HDD, right? And you see it basically with the header, the platers. This thing looks like what we used to call back in the days the turntable. It's a turntable, right? Uh, it's a turntable for playing old records. You can see it. So it was built using that same technology, right? Can you see my screen, please?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay. It was built using that same technology. DJs use it very well. Yeah, it was fun back in the days. So it's the same technology, similar technology they used in building the HDD. But HDD has now grown into something we called SSD, which is essentially electronic based. Like it doesn't have any parts that is rolling. You see it. And SSD too has grown over the years. We had micro, mini. You see the different type here. There's the SSD that is flat. There's one that is short. There's one that has mouth closer to the left. There's one that has mouth closer to the right. There's one here now that has two mouths. All of those things, it's giving their own different generations, right? When they started building them. And this type you're seeing is the SATA version of SSD, that also has been used over time. So all of these are part of what is, in this particular chapter. HDD differs in terms of various measurements such as capacity, interface speed, seek time, access time, transfer time. If I'm copying from my SSD now, if I need to copy 10 gig, I can copy 10 gig maybe with an SSD that has a copy speed of 1024 Mbps, right? Megabits per second, right? I can copy that maybe, I can copy 10 gig in 10 seconds, for SSD. But if you do that with HDD, older version, you might be spending close to 10 minutes. So imagine that crazy difference. And data are stored electronically in both ways, but their method of storing them are totally different. The HDD use concentric circles on the platters. The head can access these circle rings one position at a time. So it's like you running through a stadium, right? Running through a stadium, 400 meters. I run that thing, a little bit small. 400 meters, 100 meters relay voice, for 200 meters relay voice. Okay, identification purposes, the rolling header, and so on and so forth. I can allow you to read about some of this before we meet tomorrow. Then we'll wrap up on digital forensic essential tomorrow, and then you take your exam. Now, don't overthink the exams. Don't over process the exams. Just from our conversations in the class, if you have been attentive, right, you would be able to flow with so many of the questions, while some others are from, the material. So don't don't bring in school mind. Yes, you have to be serious about it, no doubt, but don't bring in school mind. And then also, moving forward, like by the time you come in for any of our courses, right, you need to bear it in mind that you need to read ahead of the class, so that when you're in class, you can ask direct questions relating to the topic. I know, yeah, we're still just starting, so there are a lot of things that we'll still play around with at that level, right? But you help us to help you. Are there any questions as we wrap up, so that we can go for prayers? I can see hands up already. Are there questions for me? Observations as I wrap up? Omeke Lovina, that hand has been going up, or going up, going up. You've not been talking. Daniel Amzat, let's hear from you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. My own question is that the assessment for tomorrow, is it an objective based or a technical question?
It's
That you have to
objective.
answer
It's
in
objective.
writing. It's objective,
Yeah,
right?
they're pure objective, yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Yes, someone said hello now. Who was that? So Daniel, you can drop your hand. Beauty, I still see your hand up. Unmute and speak.
I said I want to ask about the exam tomorrow. You are saying that I saw that the pass mark is 70. So what?
He said, what if the score is exactly 70 or 69?
Mindset. Work for 90. Don't work for 70. Don't work for don't work for 69. If you work for 69, you know pass. If you get 69.999999999, that's not 70. Do you get? You must get 70 and above. Do you get? So let's work with the winning mindset. You can all do it. That's the truth. Everyone here can do it. Everyone here can do it. So don't be afraid. Just take your time out and then, plan towards the exam. As long as you attended the class and you were listening, right? Some of the questions are written in English. It's not in French. So you can literally just look inward, read the question very well. Some of the questions itself, you will see the answer inside the question if you read very well. So that's that. Beauty, we can't hear you. If you can hear us, unmute yourself as I hand over back to Okpeyemi. Thank you, everyone. It's good to have you on this call.
100% security anywhere in the world. The more the ease of life, the more the security in it. One of the beauty about cybersecurity is also job security.